Hey, peace and love, peace and love. This is your brother Garfield, and it's your time. We debate on Facebook every day, and we chop it up behind keyboards. Now is your time to have a conversation, as everybody knows how I do it. I give you an opportunity to come up, and we talk for 2 minutes, 2 minutes each, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. But in the meantime, there's a couple of videos that I do have to play. I gotta wonder about this president guy sometimes, man. This guy is just, boy. I don't know what to say about this guy, man. All right, so let's get to this war argument real quick. Total chaos erupts. His war is backfiring. Let's take a look at what media's touch videos talked about. And hope you guys hold on, share the screen.
And it's bigger than expected. Now, Iran has officially acknowledged the death of Ayatollah Khomeini, and they have stated that they will be exacting a vengeance on anybody who was responsible for the preemptive attack, bigger than they ever have before. Specifically, a statement that comes from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is as follows: we will make sure we engage in the most massive and powerful offensive operation in the history of the Islamic Republic, which will begin shortly against Israel and U.S. bases in the Middle East. In addition, Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Baghir Kalibaf, on Sunday called the leaders of the United States and Israel, quote, filthy criminals who will face devastating blows for their ongoing attacks on the Islamic Republic. Quote, you have crossed our red line and must pay the price. We will deliver such devastating blows that you yourselves will be driven to beg. Now, that follows a social media post that Donald Trump made where he said, now that we've engaged in these preemptive strikes against Iran, hopefully the Iran Revolutionary Guard will join with others and they will take control of Iran and they will support Donald Trump and Netanyahu. And the response to that seems to be, no, that's not happening. And this is what Donald Trump's top generals and admirals and CIA and top intelligence specialists were warning Donald Trump about. Donald Trump posted late last night, Iran just stated that they are going to hit very hard today, harder than they have ever hit before. Then Donald Trump, in all caps, writes, they better not do that, however, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. I want to show you what is going on right now in Iran, as there have been massive protests all day. Now, let's be clear. There have been some protests out there and some people taking to the street who, of course, have been thankful and grateful that the Ayatollah has been killed. Authoritarian, repressive regime. So we've seen some of that. But a lot of the images that we're seeing now are these massive, massive rallies that are part of this 40 days of mourning, where in Iran, there's, like in these city centers and squares, it looks like there are hundreds of thousands of people who are chanting death to America, and they are demanding vengeance. That's what's happening in Iran. I'm just giving you the facts, folks, about what's actually happening, trying to cut through the propaganda and just give you the facts. So in Isfahan right now, here are, just look how many people are in this city square demanding vengeance. Here, play this clip right here. I will show you some other angles as well. Here you'll see pro-government rallies where people are chanting death to America outside. Let's play this one. Here is another view. Let's play this clip right here. Here is another pro-government rally at the Imam Reza Shrine in Mashhad, Iran, protesting the U.S.-Israeli strikes. The Associated Press reported and filmed matching crowds chanting "Death to America" at other state-backed events in Tehran as well. Let's play this clip of what was going on there so you can see it for yourself. Now, I want to go through what's going on throughout the Middle East, as Iran stated it would be retaliating against U.S. bases and U.S. presence in other neighboring countries, whether that's the United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai, whether it's Qatar in Doha, whether it is Bahrain, whether it is Saudi Arabia, whether it is Iraq. Wherever there is a U.S. presence in Kuwait City, in Jordan, Iran has been striking. And of course, Iran has been striking in Israel. I mean, we've seen some massive strikes take place in Tel Aviv as well. I want you to watch here. An Iranian missile hit Dubai International Airport in the morning. You can see the smoke seen rising near the north end of the airfield right there. We'll show you some photos of it. Next, I'll show you the U.S. Air Base at Erbil International Airport in Iraq burning in the morning. After an Iranian drone and missile attack, you can see the clouds of thick black smoke rise from an impact site at Erbil International Airport in northern Iraq. Hat tip to the open source intelligence technical and defenders. They do a good job aggregating this stuff. Take a look right here. There appears to be a direct hit this morning in Doha, Qatar. You can see the smoke clouds billowing there. Iranian strikes on hotel complexes in Manama, Bahrain. Bahrain has been getting hit over and over and over again. We've seen residential complexes that are known to be frequented and lived in by American soldiers being hit there. Large plumes of smoke are seen in Bahrain right there. And then let's zoom in on what's going on in Baghdad this morning, as pro-Iran regime protesters attempted to breach the green zone there, trying to get into the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. We'll show you what that looked like here. Let's just show a little bit of that in Baghdad so they can see. Let's play that clip. And next, we'll bring you to Pakistan, where protesters broke through the security barricades and entered the U.S. consulate in Karachi, largest city there. The video footage you will see here shows with one demonstrator holding, a brigade flag. I mean, just look at that. The protests appear to be part of this anti-U.S. demonstration wave in the region, but this is at the U.S. consulate in Karachi. Here, take a look right there. Going back to Dubai for a moment, you'll see here the Palms was struck. The Burj Al Arab Hotel was struck as well. You can see those images right there. Also, some of the early reports coming in out of Iran suggest that Ayatollah Khamenei's son, Mujtaba, is going to be named as the next supreme leader. There was this succession plan that was already being discussed. So Mujtaba is believed, we'll see what happens, to be the next Ayatollah. It's being described that this will symbolize his father as a martyr who died waging a holy war against the West in the name of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. And Mujtaba is just as extreme, if not more extreme, than his father. And he was known for propping up people like Ahmadinejad as the president. And he's also known for the brutal protest crackdowns that just took place, where as many as 30,000 protesters may have been massacred. So to the extent anybody thought that this was going to be some kumbaya moment and that the Islamic Republic was just going to collapse and they were just going to take it and roll over and surrender, the opposite seems to be taking place as we are looking at what's going on in the region. The latest YouGov poll, do you approve of the way Donald Trump is handling Iran? This was taken on February 28th. 50% of Americans disapprove. Only 35% of Americans approve of the way that Donald Trump is handling everything that's going on in Iran. But according to Lindsey Graham, right, warmonger, chicken hawk, Lindsey Graham, he says, look, if American soldiers are going to die in Iran, it's going to be great, he says, because you will die a noble death. For all the soldiers, for all the parents of soldiers, if you're worried that your kids, or if you're worried you're going to die in the Middle East right now, according to MAGA, it's great because it's going to be noble. Your children will be martyrs, is basically what Lindsey Graham is saying, for the MAGA regime change plan. Here, play this clip.
Command. And if we lose anybody in this operation, they will have died a noble death because they will have risked their lives and sacrificed their lives to make us safer here at home.
Now, you will all recall that, I guess, Donald Trump and his regime, the Trump regime, I think were first trying to tell us that what this was all about was trying to stop Iran enriching uranium. That was one of the things, although they said back in June that all of the uranium was obliterated and it was mission accomplished. Remember Operation Midnight Hammer, right? What do they call the one right now? Operation Epic Fury. I think the Epic Fury is how the American people feel about this despicable Trump regime, how Trump's MAGA supporters feel about the betrayal, how all Americans feel when Donald Trump promised no wars, no regime change. Epic Fury is what the American people are feeling right now, but we should be calling this war on Iran Operation Epstein Fury, or the Jeffrey Epstein War. That's what we're calling it here at the Midas Touch Network, Operation Epstein Fury, or the Jeffrey Epstein War, because that's what this is all about as well. The Trump regime covering up Donald Trump's dark past, his connections to Epstein, all of the things that we're uncovering right now in those Epstein files, ghastly, ghoulish, grotesque, with Trump and 1600 Pennsylvania, our White House at the center of that child sex trafficking cabal cover-up that's taking place. And then they have this wag the dog moment and go to war. And they say, what this is really about is regime change. That's what we want. This was all about regime change. It was never about uranium enrichment. This was about regime change. And let me be very clear. I just want to be very, very clear. I think that the Ayatollah is a despicable, disgusting, repressive regime. I pray for the people of Iran, and I hope that they can live one day in freedom and peace. At the same time, I don't want regime change wars here in the United States. I don't want to, and if you're going to do regime change wars, you better explain to the American people what the hell is going on and why we should be engaged in regime change wars where we have so many damn problems taking place here in the United States as people are psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck if they're lucky enough to get a paycheck, as healthcare is being ripped away, as people can't afford rent and people can't afford homes and people are suffering and can't afford anything here in the United States. And we're told, oh, the government doesn't have enough money, but the money and the taxes that are being collected are going towards regime change and cover up of child sex trafficking rings. Are you absolutely kidding me right now? What the hell is going on? And so Donald Trump's social media posts, oh, we're going to strike the hell out of you if you do all of this. What is that? The fact that Donald Trump was at a fundraiser all of yesterday, a MAGA fundraiser to raise money for himself, to raise money for MAGA, whatever the hell you're raising money for, and not speak to the American people and cancel all your public speaking engagements and not speak to the American people what the hell's going on while the Middle East is on fire, while this regime change appears to be backfiring based on all the data that I'm showing us right here. What in the world is going on? And all Donald Trump did was 2 days ago, he posted that weird video of himself where he basically said the same thing that Lindsey Graham said, where Donald Trump's like, yeah, lives may be lost, soldiers may die, but, that's just something that happens in war. Here, play this clip.
Seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran.
And then so you have all these MAGA people now who are trying to justify all of this. So you have, for example, MAGA Republican Senator Rick Scott was on CNN, and Jake Tapper's like, well, what do you say to all the MAGA people out there? And the whole thing that you ran on was no regime change. And now all you're talking about is regime change. So what do you say to all of the MAGA people and America people in general? And then these MAGA Republican senators and congressmen are like, it's okay when Trump does it. When Trump does it, it's always good, dear leader. Here, play this clip.
What would you say to a member of the MAGA coalition who comes to you and says, Senator, this is not what I voted for. President Trump said he was going to end regime change wars. He was going to end military entanglements abroad. And this is the exact opposite of what he said he was going to do. What would you tell that person?
Well, what this president wants to do is he doesn't want forever wars. He's against forever wars. If you look at what he's trying to do, he's trying to make the world a safer place. What he did by destroying their nuclear weapons last year, what he's doing with this was destroying their ability to produce missiles. He's making the world a better place. What he did in Venezuela, he's making the world a better place. So if you look at this, Trump, he wants peace. But we've had presidents appease, coddle, and power ran for decades, and that's got to stop.
Or, for example, they had that MAGA Republican vile influencer, Scott Jennings. And Scott Jennings was asked, well, what do you think about the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie are criticizing what Donald Trump's doing? And then Jennings is like, well, they're not really MAGA. They're not really Republican. Here, play this clip.
This is not what we thought MAGA was supposed to be. Congressman Thomas Massie also writing, this is not America first. Do they have a point?
No, they don't have a point, and I don't consider them to be actual Republicans, and I don't consider them to be part of the America First or MAGA movement, to be honest with you. They are basically allied against Donald Trump on everything, whether it's foreign affairs or domestic policy. They've just become political enemies of the president of the United States, no matter what he does. And that's unfortunate, but she quit and he's about to lose in a primary in Kentucky. So that'll be the end of that.
Well, that's where we're at right now, folks. Let me know what you think. I could show you so much more, but I think, we got to take this all in. We've got to be very deliberative. We got to report on this in a very calm and just get the facts out there. And follow the facts together. And that's what we'll do here on the Midas Touch Network, okay? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. And thank you all for watching this.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add
Anybody want to jump on and have a discussion about this? You're free to, because I'm not going to be talking about this all day long. So if anybody doesn't want to talk about it, I'll move to the next topic. I just find it interesting that if the Iranians wanted it, that don't make any sense to me. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if the sun is gonna take over, what was the purpose of removing Khomeini in the first place? What was the purpose of killing him? That don't make any sense. Because if the son's gonna rule, more than likely he's gonna carry through the same things that the father did. So what was the purpose of really bombing Iran? I don't know. Maybe you guys have answers. I don't see what's the purpose. I'm like, what is the purpose? It seems leaning towards protecting Israel. Who's supposed to have a nuclear bomb? Who decides that? It seems like Israel is worried, maybe worried about them having a nuclear weapon, and America is just protecting Israel. If that's the case, let's say that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So all right, let's go to this video between 50 Cent and T.I. and let's check this out.
This 50 Cent and T.I. beef has gotten a whole lot worse since our last update. It has taken a turn I don't think anybody was expecting, because 50 is losing the beef. Like, 50 picked a battle with a YN who don't give a damn. In our last update, we talked about how 50 Cent posted T.I.'s wife, making fun of her looks. Now, this was a mistake, obviously, because this led to T.I.'s son hopping into the beef. And T.I.'s son has been more ruthless than I think anybody 50 Cent has ever beefed with. Because immediately after 50 Cent posted this, in our last update, we talked about how, T.I.'s son, which is King Harris, he posted 50 Cent's mother's tombstone and began to diss her, because 50 Cent dissed his mom, obviously.
Say something about my mama. Your mama dead as fuck. Your mama dead as fuck. Dig her up. Go dig her up. Post a picture of your mama. Nigga, she dead. Nigga. Pay respect. Nigga. Stop playing with my mama. Nigga. Playing like that. Nigga. Going like that. Nigga. How y'all been raised? I'm not raised like that. I don't go. I'm not going about my mama. Nigga. I'm not going. Nigga. So tell your dead ass mama dig her ass up and post a picture that look better than my mama. Nigga. Fuck on with you. Nigga. I know tie y'all. Y'all nigga know who the fuck I fuck with. Nigga. You better put that music up and nigga, shut the fuck up, nigga. Cause all that other shit ain't gonna get it. On my mother. Your mama dead as fuck, nigga. Dig that bitch up. Not going. Nigga, not going. Now what the fuck you gonna do about that? Nigga, not going. I don't give a fuck how nigga dead. Nigga, not going. Nigga, post my mama like your mama ain't dead as fuck.
King, they gonna kill you. Better stop dissing them. Man, King says, F them ninjas, man. Ain't nothing die about their cousin them. So King obviously don't give a damn. If I'm King, hey, man, you entering into a field with somebody who's going to hold his grudge against you for the rest of your life, man. Well, 50 responded back to King dissing his dead mother with a meme.
What's up, man?
Obviously, we know how that scene plays out. 50 put his face on one character. He put, like King Harris' face on another character. They chase the person with a car. King Harris' character runs off. He sees 50 coming. 50 Cent captioned it, grown man-ish boy. Now, again, I'll be real, all right? If this is round one, King Harris clearly won round one. King Harris was more vicious, but it didn't stop here, right? Because King Harris is apparently still going. But before we get to, like, King Harris antics, T.I. dropped a diss track on 50 Cent. Now, in this diss track, I'll be real, I think T.I.'s flow is antiquated. I think T.I.'s still rapping like it's 09. But the content of the diss track is bad news for 50. Because they are unraveling and unearthing things that I feel like 50 Cent kind of want to bury and keep hidden in that era. The diss track is called The Right One, and honestly, I don't know why T.I. dropped the diss track. 50 Cent ain't rapping back with T.I. But 50 Cent ain't rapping back with nobody, bro. Like, 50 Cent has given up rapping in general, okay? 50, I think, is going to try to get T.I. and King Harris another way, and it's not going to be rap. But essentially, the diss track is calling 50 Cent a rat, et cetera, et cetera. But if you scroll down, okay, if you scroll down, something he says specifically, I don't think 50 Cent wants to really unearth it, okay? Right here, T.I. says, you hate women. Guess that's why you can't keep one. You can't love them because from your mama you receive none. Oh, no, you'd rather set fires to houses with babies in them? I got paperwork from ninjas in prison. Your name is in them. Peter Parker journalism, he's saying, I guess I'm Venom. Now, I don't think 50 Cent care about being called a rat, right? They've been calling 50 a rat for years, passing paperwork around. But that, you set fire to houses with baby in them, that's the one I think 50 want to leave alone. Because a lot of people believe, after hearing the full story, that 50 got away with attempted murder of his baby mama and his own son and other people and other kids in the house as well. Because while going through like a house custody battle, because 50 baby mama was living in a home with the kid, he went to court, you know, the eviction process was long and lengthy, you know, but she was allowed to stay in the house. He tried to file eviction. So he got sick and tired of dealing with it, right? So a lot of folks believe that 50 Cent set the house on fire. And how the story goes kind of points to 50 Cent, to be honest, all right? Now, she even filed a police report. The police report even listed a motive that 50 may have done this. I did a whole video on this, by the way, all right, with the full details. But to save y'all time, I would just skip directly to the clip and play y'all exactly what the baby mama have to say in regards to 50 Cent setting their home on fire.
I get to the courthouse. I do my deposition. I come back outside. It was a guy following me, trying to intimidate me to the point where my lawyer was so worried that she would just please be careful. So he was trying to kick me out the house and he couldn't get me out the house. And that's another thing where he says like, oh, he went to Suffolk County. They gave me an eviction, but I took it to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court allowed me to stay. So he couldn't get me out the house at the time. And then his lawyer and I have in my deposition papers, which once I started doing my YouTube channel, I have to be able to side by side and bring up stuff. His lawyer actually asked me where was my evidence. And that was the first part of the house to burn down.
She also tells other stories about how on her way back and forth to court, you know, somebody linked to 50 was following her back and forth to court and they was harassing her and stalking her. But fast forward, she says that she believes that 50 Cent was trying to kill them because when a person came, everybody was upstairs asleep, right? You know, the kids was in the house. This was a time of the night where, you know, everybody was home, right? This wasn't done where, you know, the kids weren't home or Marquise was at school. No, this was done when everybody was asleep or supposed to be asleep.
Who's on the house at the time when it got set on fire?
That's another thing he tried to create the narrative. It was me, my boyfriend. No man lived with me in that house. And I will repeat, no man lived with me in that house. No man, except for Marquise. And he wasn't a man at the time. He was a child.
Deep down, what do you think the motive was behind to really get rid of you or to scare you out of the house, honestly speaking?
I think it was to kill us. Because the time, it wasn't like it happened when the kids were in school. Maybe I was there by myself, or it happened that I was just sleeping. No one's up. Just in that second, I came from Marquise's room to the top of the stairs. I went down maybe 3 steps and the flames just shot up to the ceiling. It was just, we couldn't even make it downstairs.
So you're the first person that's seen the fire, what I'm getting from this, right? So
I heard the glass shatter. So my daughter said, she said she thought I broke something because all she heard was me cursing. But for some reason, I was so enraged. I was like, this motherfucker. I was like, this motherfucker sent somebody to burn the house down. So my daughter said she just heard glass and me cursing.
And the baby mama did an interview with a dude, I think with like 2,000 subscribers. Can you imagine if T.I. was able to get her to talk? Oh no, this is getting to be bad news for 50, bro. Now they didn't just stop here. King then took over the reins from T.I., and King has been on social media all day exposing 50. King has been on 50 Cent's bumper. Now, I'm a hip-hop historian. I'm usually really tapped in, but King is reminding me of things that I forgot I even knew. Like, for example, he posted a video of 50 Cent apparently pleading guilty in court to beating up 3 women. Now, again, I'm like a historian, but I didn't know about this at all.
Curtis Jackson, 29-year-old who admitted to trampling and beating 3 women at a concert.
He attacked women. Women. We were just there to see a concert. We were not there to get beat up. We were not there to get hit.
Go. Now, listen, man. All right. If somebody make that 50 Cent documentary, bro, it's going to be crazy, man. That 50 Cent documentary is going to be wild. If somebody is diabolical enough to really paint the narratives, how the narratives are supposed to be painted, it's going to be crazy. King also went at 50 Cent and his son, okay? So King posted this picture of 50 and his son with the caption, "You think you raising a man, having him sit in your lap as a teenager? That's a hoe, sir. P.S. This is not AI." Now listen, man. I think the one thing that plagues Black men is fathers showing lack of affection to sons, right? Like, people see like a video of like a father kissing a son, and it's like, oh my God. There's like a legit like a father-son content creator where they go viral all the time because the father like hugs and kisses the son. Like, that's how rare it is in our community. But bringing the son into it, bro, King is ruthless, man. King is not stopping, bro. Now this to me is some diabolical stuff that I didn't know, man. King reposted pictures of 50 Cent with multiple dildos in hand. I guess this is when 50 Cent launched his line of D products. I think 50 Cent launched his own condoms, his own dildos, which was supposed to be like an imprint of himself to women to buy. But just the images of 50 Cent holding these things up is it's crazy, bro. It's nuts. It's weird. And King is winning this round for show, man. So King writes, "Curtis, the Johnson juggler, this the magic stick you talk about? I just know this tough and buff-eyed ninja ain't out here in the general public gripping dick in real life. This what you got to do to sell out." Man. All right. Keep posting, little ninja. You got the right one this time. Dear Miss Jackson, your son a freaky man. Wish you was here to whoop his eye. Oh my God. Dissing a dead mom mixed with the dildo combo, that's some diabolical and vicious stuff, man. Here's the thing. I think King hopping in his beef is a tad bit unfair because, King got nothing but time. King is a fearless little young dude who came up in the clout world. A lot of these old dudes, they be embarrassed beefing with 50 because they don't want their business out there. King is a dude that, relatively, we don't really know much about. He don't really got too much dirt out here in the streets. So there's not much 50 Cent could really post about him. But King has about a 3 decade of information on 50 Cent that he could post. It's crazy, right? But it didn't stop there, okay? So King would also post this video right here of 50 Cent baby mama talking about the house burning down. And King will say, "You still threatening Black women? All right, man, it's getting fun. Keep going." So, the caption of the video says, "Why does nobody talk about this? 50 Cent burned his baby mama's house on fire in 2008. That's a question mark, by the way. 50, don't sue me.
Mr. Jackson did this. You do think so? Yes, I know so. Why do you say that? He threatened me on Monday. He did. He threatened me. Look, watch what I'll do. I'll have someone come kill you. He threatened me. He threatened me on Monday, and this is what he did. How long were you two together? We were together for 13 years. The relation just ended over a year ago. He cannot accept that I have moved on with my life. And he's like, you want to strip me of everything. And I didn't allow it. I fought back, and this is what he's trying to do. He tried to kill me and his own child. Why do you know that? He threatened me. He told me he would. He told me he would have someone come do something to me. He told me he would say, watch what I do. I have someone come kill you. And that's what he did. That's what he did. I know he did. There's not a doubt in my mind on my son's life. I know he did. What happened? I know he did. Did you see anything? Someone threw something through the window and the house just ignited. Couldn't even make it downstairs. We had to jump out the window. Do you think he hired someone to do it? Yes, of course. I know he's too much of a coward to do anything himself.
You're blaming 50 Cent for this?
Yes, yes. Yes.
He released a statement saying he was happy everyone got out alive.
He didn't even. If you release a statement, if you care about your child, he has made no attempt to contact his child. He calls my grandmother when he's upset and he wants to talk about me. He calls my uncle. He calls my aunt. He's not made one attempt to come find out if his son is okay. So that sounds like a concerned father. A concerned father don't sign over their rights. A concerned father do not sign over legal, physical. He has no rights over Marquise. None. None. He signed away custody. He tries to make it like he's a doting, beautiful father. He's not. He's not. He is a deadbeat because it's not about monetary. He is a deadbeat.
You heard this in the middle of the night?
Yes, I did.
Talk about the custody of the house. He didn't want you to have that
No,
house.
and we was in Supreme Court. I did my deposition yesterday.
And
yesterday.
he trashed
yesterday.
the attorney's
Yes,
office?
no, he trashed on Monday, but I did my deposition yesterday. And they saw the evidence that I had. We had an express oral agreement, and I have proof that he said that, and this is what happened. He knew I was going to get that house.
Kids in danger?
He doesn't care. Anyone who tries to take a roof over their child's head, do they care about putting them in danger? When you know you drive around a bulletproof van all day, every night, wouldn't you want your son to be somewhere safe?
You think he would try to kill his own kid?
Yes, I think he would. He's obsessed. If he can't have me, he'd be like, no one can. He's obsessed.
So
he's very upset.
Fighting over the house right
Yes, we were in court. We're in litigation. We're fighting over the house.
Yes. Say again, what did he tell you?
He said that he was going to have someone come kill me and watch what he does. And this is what he did.
So he threatened you?
Yes, and he has made no contact to even see how his son is doing. No contact.
You heard how upset are you? How frightened are you?
I'm very upset.
I see the comments saying we must remind T.I. that King Harris won this beef for him, man. Because it's kind of unfair, and you kind of see it from 50's perspective as well. King Harris is a kid. 50 can't go back and forth with King Harris. 50 wants T.I. So King Harris can kind of say whatever, but 50 can't really respond. Like 50 gave him like one response or two response, but he can't really like go back and forth because he'll look crazy as well. But y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, man? Because I'll be real, man, 50, like you gave Lil Meech a lot of smoke. You not giving King the same smoke, man. All right, man. King single-handedly is winning this beef on behalf of T.I., man. Y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this?
Again, if anybody wants to jump on and have a discussion about what we're talking about so far, because after this, after UMAR, I'm going to go into this lady by the name of African Exodus has a channel. Talked about the temple of Yeha in Ethiopia is the real true temple of God and all this craziness. she's like a what's his name? Ron Dalton Jr., man. She's like the female version of him. Craziness. Yeah, let's get into UMAR and Tariq. And by the way, to what UMAR said during this lecture series the other day is very interesting. And I actually agreed with him. But anyway, let's look at UMAR versus Tariq. We up.
A few days ago, Dr. Umar Johnson appeared on a podcast called It's Up There Podcast, hosted by a brother by the name of Big Loon. It's a really good channel, and I'm glad that I found it. And I want everybody to go over and check him out and subscribe right now. And Dr. Umar Johnson, of course, was being controversial. And it wasn't about white supremacy or scandals about his school that still hasn't opened until this day. A lot of his commentary in the clips that I heard were directed towards hashtag ADOS or hashtag FBA. And I want to get into that because it's important.
I don't have a problem with the American African people, seeing the need to make it clear to other branches of the global African family that when you come here, you need to be clear that we built the house and rolled out the carpet for you. Be respectful in my home the same way you would want for me to be respectful in your home. So the concept of that American African identity, I have no issue with it. It needs to be done. It needs to be said.
So in this, Dr. Umar Johnson says something I think that's important. He doesn't mind that Black people in America are telling the other people from the diaspora, from the Caribbean, listen, you guys need to show us a level of respect here when you come here, because it's because of us that you're able to come here. And just like how we got to respect your homeland when we're there, you should respect us in our homeland when we're here. So far, so good. I don't think anybody has a problem with that framework. This is kind of where it becomes crazy.
What is new about it is the adversarial stance that they are taking towards African immigrants who come here from the diaspora, and the energy that they give them, the negative energy that they give them, which supersedes the negative energy you give to the white man who enslaved you then and oppresses you now. There's nothing a continental African immigrant can do to me that can supersede what the white man has done to me.
Dr. Umar Johnson says, I don't understand this new adversarial hatred towards continental Africans. An African can never do anything to him that the white man has not done. But he will continue to go further.
That can exceed what the white man has done to me. So why is it I can have so much vitriol, hatred, disrespect, animosity towards someone who looks like me just because they came from another place?
How can I have so much hatred and animosity towards someone who has come from another place that looks like me? And this is kind of where this fell apart for me, to be honest, because what Dr. Umar Johnson is saying is that almost every African or Caribbean person that comes to America is almost not guilty, and they are just victims, and they're just receiving all this hatred and animosity from the Black American or the hashtag FBA ADOS community as if it's unwarranted. Tariq Nasheed would do a pretty good job checking this statement.
They always ignore all the vitriolic things these people do when they get over here. Not even when they get over, even back home. But they always ignore all the Myron Gaines and all the Akata talk. All parts of Africa, they have pejorative terms for us. They all have negative terms for us. The whole vibe is when you get over there, stay away from the Akata, stay away from the Yankees, stay away from the Jarirs. There's always these negative tropes for us, but it never gets called out.
He said that there are people from the continent of Africa that have negative tropes that don't get called out when they call brothers and sisters Akatas or negative names. Now, I can tell you that I went to Howard University in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, and these negative tropes were there. I can tell you that from the Caribbean community and the African community, especially those coming from Trinidad, Tobago, those coming from Nigeria. They didn't even hang out with us, all right? And it was a known thing in their community that if you hang around X, Y, and Z, they don't have any culture. I mean, this is something that was being talked about even back then before it was really publicized, okay? And some of the women, especially from Trinidad, Tobago, they would tell us, hey, listen, our parents tell us to never date you guys, never deal with you guys, to stay as far as we can from you. And it's crazy because they got a scholarship to Howard University at an HBCU. But then it gets worse.
And for the longest, many continental Africans have been getting a pass. They've been getting a pass for a lot of stuff that they've done for a long time. They always make excuses for the little janky stuff that they do. even their role in the slave trade. Oh, they didn't know no better. The white man came and tricked them. Yeah, I know they call you an Akata and they say they gotta stay away, but the white man showed them a video during the immigration process, and the video showed negative. So it's always somebody that tricked them, somebody that done something to them. So they've been skirting responsibility. They've been not held accountable for.
He talks about the fact that a lot of the brothers coming from the continent or coming from the Caribbean, brothers and sisters, are skirting responsibility, and they are never held accountable for the things that they do. Now, again, they make up excuses about, being told to avoid Black Americans at the immigration place. And these things are stuff that they do to counter the fact that they have this pejorative attitude towards Black Americans. Now, can it be true that Black Americans could definitely be rude to Africans, make fun of them? Absolutely. It does happen. All right. But the one thing that I don't like about Dr. Umar Johnson is that he goes out of his way to exonerate these Africans and Caribbeans who come into America. And I can tell you for a fact that almost all Africans that I have met practice some form of tribalism. Okay. Extremely. I live in Africa. I can tell you that tribalism exists 100% here, as far as what happens in the private sector, as far as what happens in the government. It is here. All right. It happens amongst Somalians. It happens amongst Kenyans and Nigerians. So now when you have this ecosystem that many Africans are coming from, okay, once they come into the Black American communities or amongst Black Americans, they don't mean any harm maybe all the time, but they come from an ecosystem in which they are tribalistic, and we are just another tribe there. Tariq Nasheed has also said the same thing. So it is silly of us many times as Black Americans to expect a lot of collaboration from people from Africa, expecting parity from people from Africa in general, because that is not how Africans that come to America are trained. They're not trained in Pan-Africanism, in working with other groups, in bringing value to different people. Most people think about, what value are you bringing to me? What are you adding on me? In Uganda, there's a very famous saying, what are you adding on us? What are you adding on us? The reverse is never true. Many people in Africa never think about, what are they adding on someone else? So they come with this survivalism mentality, all right? And that's just a survival mentality. That's why they're leaving their country, coming to America. And so when these people become disrespectful towards Black Americans, and that can also happen, and they become tribalistic, and they don't want to give anything to the community, or just to in any other community, not even us. Just talk about Ghanaians' relationship with Nigerians in America. Talk about Liberians' relationship with Ghanaians in America. I mean, they'll tell you that is almost non-existent in the way that Dr. Umar Johnson believes it is in his mind. Okay. And then to act like these people do nothing wrong, it's insane. Many Africans engage in colorism. They have hateful mentalities toward each other. They operate from these kind of mentalities and mindsets, and they don't really offer a lot of value to each other outside of their own home country. Then what Dr. Umar Johnson would do is to basically try to compare Pan-Africanism and how greater it is than what's going on with hashtag FBA or ADOS. Number one, that's a personal opinion. And I think somebody like Dr. Umar Johnson would do very well to kind of stay away from those arguments. Number one, because it's just not conducive. All it becomes is, in my honest opinion, a larger issue or a measuring contest in which, Dr. Umar Johnson talks about how Pan-Africanism is the way to go. And here's all his proof that Pan-Africanism is this. And, he can smash Yvette Carnell and Tariq Nasheed because he's better than the both of them. And that's where the conversation ended up. Instead of just understanding that you're going to have people who are going to be hashtag ADOS, okay? And you're going to have people who are going to be hashtag FBA. I'm a person that's deeply involved in the Pan-African community, right? But I can see the forest from the trees here. The Pan-African community has a lot of problems. And one of the things that I have realized is for people who see those problems and see those issues and don't want to partake in that because they don't see no immediate value, nothing is wrong with that. People who want to be hashtag FBA because, as Tariq says, it's a lineage. Now, people will always look at Tariq Nasheed as a leader of hashtag FBA because online, it seems that they do have some kind of a burgeoning community. But people have their right to do so. Not everybody needs to participate in the Pan-Africanism game, okay? And I'm going to tell you why they don't need to do so.
So my movement to counteract the negativity of these movements we're discussing is going to be the DAFA movement. DAFA, descendants of African freedmen in America. Remember, Loom, after freedom came, we were known as what? Freedmen. That was a legal classification. We were the freedmen. My 3 times great-grandfather George fought in the Civil War. My 4 times great-grandfather Steve fought in the Civil War. My cousins Lewis and Charles, the sons of Frederick Douglass, fought in the Civil War. I'm a descendant of freedmen who fought to keep this country from being divided. And we have rights as freedmen. So we're fighting as descendants of African, not no American. You ain't never putting that in no title, no organization of mine. Descendants of African freedmen in America.
So here is Dr. Umar Johnson talking about the fact that he wants to start this whole other organization. Organization is called DAFA, Descendants of African Freedmen in America, which is basically the same thing as Yvette Carnell's hashtag ADOS, or the same framework that we see with Tariq Nasheed's hashtag FBA. Dr. Umar Johnson, in my honest opinion, is trying to find another way to remain relevant by getting into the reparations conversation, because he sees the monetization opportunity. I believe Tariq Nasheed owns hashtag FBA as a trademark. He has Foundational Black America t-shirts and things like that. He has an audience that does monetize him quite often. He has created these opportunities for himself to do other things. And so I believe that what Dr. Umar Johnson is doing is pocket watching. But Dr. Umar Johnson is not a leader, okay? Dr. Umar Johnson is looking for another way to beg, to get donations, another hustle. And Descendants of African Freedmen in America is the same thing as hashtag ADOS or hashtag FBA. And right now, it looks like hashtag FBA is making the most ground in getting talked about and putting in institutional framework and being a grassroots community. And Dr. Umar Johnson, instead of just rocking with either hashtag ADOS or hashtag FBA, he wants to have his own piece of the pie, in which, like I said, it's just another name to be more confusing, and you're not going to achieve anything because you can't even open the school that you set out to. And nobody trusts Dr. Umar Johnson to do anything but to lie. And again, it just becomes a measuring contest. Like, I'm better than Tariq, or just a contest with Yvette Carnell. I'm better than Yvette Carnell. I'm better than all these people. And ultimately, nobody will win in the community attitudes like that. If hashtag ADOS has the most pull, I think that's great. Yvette Carnell and Tone Talk, I love a lot of their framework. A lot of the framework with Tariq Nasheed that comes out. I know him and Yvette Carnell don't get along, but I think that a lot of his framework is also good. The conversations being had on the table. But I think that when you see people who really care about the communities, they're not going to care so much about adding more confusion to the deck. You have DAFA now. There is Soul Land. There is Freedmen. Like, how many names do you actually need to get the ball rolling? And Dr. Umar Johnson is not going to be a candidate of getting anything accomplished. What is the accomplishment for Dr. Umar Johnson? Do you not want to be called American or Black American? You want to be called African Freedman? Okay, well then, if that's the case, I get it. Give up your passport so that you can't go anywhere else, because that passport is for Americans. Nothing that Dr. Umar Johnson is talking about is going to lead to more Black development. It will not lead to more Black jobs. It will not lead to more Black businesses. It will not lead to anything that Black people in America can benefit from. Dr. Umar Johnson is a proven loser. All right. He's a proven manipulator. He's a proven joke. And that's all that he should continue to be. And this whole DAFA thing just shows that he's pocket watching. He's trying to do a cheap imitation of ADOS or hashtag FBA just so he can monopolize the community and destroy it, as he has destroyed everything else in his dusty ass life. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy Ocean Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.
This 50 Cent and T.I. beef has gotten a whole lot worse since our last update. It has taken a turn.
But this is another confirmation that the fact that this site is built on a hill structure or mountain. Greetings, family. Welcome back to the African Exodus Show. My name is Tuni Shiri, here to you with a new video. Before we get into today's video, I have to remind you all, if you want to get notifications anytime that I post a new.
Hey, listen, not because she's a woman, she get off the hook. Not because she's a pseudo, she could still get the business. Because at the end of the day, she is, don't dry hate Garfield.
Video to my channel, to this channel, you could simply send or click the description, the link in the description for my Telegram. I always post my videos on Telegram. Some people have no clue that I post a new video because they're not getting notifications from YouTube despite clicking the bell on YouTube. And so that's why I created a Telegram in the first place, because I always foresaw that some of the content that we talk about would probably not be shared on the algorithm as much as the old content I used to talk about, which obviously was less detrimental to the world system. So go to my Telegram if you want to always get notifications. In addition, if you want the slides from this presentation or any other material pretty much that I post on this channel, you could simply go to my Patreon. I make them available on a free tier. For a while, I've been doing it on a free tier. But I do thank everyone who does contribute, the monthly members on Patreon who contribute despite the fact that it's on a free tier, everyone who donates anything that the Most High leads you to do. Thank you so much. May Yahweh bless you, and more bountifully than even what you put out. So we're going to be going through a very important subject. And it's important because it has a lot to do with the time that we are in. I'm sure all of you, I'm not going to say all of you, but a lot of you are probably well aware that this season feels like the end time season, that we've kind of hit a point where things are going to start unraveling very quickly. Now, because of that, a lot of prophecy is foretold about a particular city mentioned in the Bible. Now, the Bible, all of our Bibles mention this city, call it Jerusalem, right? Now, we discussed in the Lie of the Hebrew Tongue, Paleo Hebrew is not Hebrew. That word Jerusalem is actually a Canaanite word referencing the Canaanite deity Shalim. That is beside the point of this video, but I wanted to say that because from henceforth, I'm going to not be mentioning the city. But that's what it says inside of our Bible. I'm not going to be using that name, though, because that's just not the name of the set apart city of the Most High. So why use it, right? Now, I did a video, I think it's about 2 years ago. And this is when I put up my video or put up my book, Conspiracy to Erase a Nation. And I did a video where I argued, just as I did inside of the book, which I'm going to, by the way, be revising. I argued that the set apart city of the Most High that we have all looked to and all looked forward to as far as the regathering of the lost tribes of Jacob, that city was actually inside of a place called Axum inside of Ethiopia. Okay. Now, when I put that out, a lot of people had some issues with the fact that I identified Axum, because a lot of people have already identified Yeha, which is not too far from Axum, that's inside of Ethiopia. And I was very confident that it was Axum at the time. Okay. But as I told you all in the video, Lie of the Hebrew Tongue, I have completely changed my position. I am now in agreement with pretty much a lot of the people, if not all the people, who recognize that the set apart promised land was in East Africa, that it was Yeha. I think it's important for you to understand how I made the mistake of identifying it as Axum, the same way that I made a mistake and identifying that the temple that stands in Yeha, the temple that many people have come forward and say, we believe that this is the temple that was the temple that was rebuilt, that was originally the Temple of Solomon, but rebuilt by Zerubbabel, that this is that temple, that set apart site, right? Now, I made the same mistake in misidentifying that site. I said, no, it can't be that temple, because when you look at that temple, and I encourage all of you to research every point that I make in this video, when you research that temple, we receive a lot of information that that temple is actually a Sabian site, and that it was dedicated to a deity known as Amika. Now, because of that, I looked at this information that this is a Sabian temple, right? And Sabians, if you don't know, those are the people who were of Yemen, southern Yemen in particular, right? And that they also, by the way, found other temples inside of southern Yemen that really very much resemble the Yeha temple. And so the breadth of information led me to the conclusion that I was being told from just doing a Google search or just searching and researching through the internet. That was that this must be a South Arabian temple. This was not the set apart temple, despite the fact that many people had said that it was. Okay. So I wanted you to understand that that was my initial position. Okay. We're going to first go through the scriptures that led me to believe that Axum was the set apart city. And I'll give you guys a little more backstory, by the way, as far as why I changed that position. Some excerpts from my book, Conspiracy to Erase a Nation. The book is available on Amazon. If you cannot afford this book, you can send an email to africanexodus@gmail.com. I will send you the PDF version. Amazon is the only place where I publish it. Now, one of the scriptures that I reference as being the indicator of where the set apart city is Psalm 125:2. It says, as the mountains surround, and we're saying Yeha now, as the mountains surround Yeha, so Yahweh surrounds his people from this time and forever. Now, as I say in the book, it is important to know that the city, and known as Jerusalem, that is inside of Palestine, it's in a very hilly and low level mountainous area. And it is itself a mountain, but in no way is it surrounded by mountains. Now, the second scripture that was used by me to identify the set apart city is really the one that made me lock in on Axum. That is about the Gihon. Second Chronicles 32:30 tells us that it was Hezekiah who stopped the upper outlet of the waters of Gihon and directed them to the west side of the city of David. Okay. Another scripture that references the place Gihon, it says Second Chronicles 33:14. It states that King Manasseh, now he built the outer wall of the city of David on the west side of the Gihon in the valley up to the entrance of the fish gate, and he encircled the Ophel with it and made it very high. Then he put army commanders in all the fortified cities of Judah. Okay. And here's another one, 1 Kings 1:32-33, and then jump to verse 38. Summon to me Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah, this is David speaking, by the way, the son of Jehoiada. And they came into the king's presence, and the king said to them, take with you the servant of your Lord, and have my son Solomon ride on my own mule and bring him down to Gihon. So Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, the Cherethites, and the Pelethites went down and had Solomon ride on King David's mule and brought him to Gihon. Okay. Now, why is Gihon important? We see very clearly that this was a location that was identified as being inside of the city of David. Okay. Now, we have been told from Israeli archaeology, from the archaeology that comes out of the place that is not the set apart land, the place that is not the promised land. The promised land is not in Palestine. And I always have to do a little caveat for anyone who has not seen my documentary called Israel Uncovered. I encourage you, watch that documentary, watch it in full, because I want you to understand, for me, coming to the conclusion that we've been lied to about the promised land, that we've been told that it was inside of Palestine and that it was really inside of East Africa, that was not something that I came to easily. It's not something that I came to because I necessarily wanted to come to it. Literally, I fought it until I seen in a vision. And, you know, that's my vision. It's not for any of you to say, oh, she had a vision. It must be true. But that was my experience. That's the first thing that made me shift. But the thing that made me completely like, oh, wow, this is true was reading the scriptures. And that was the confirmation from the Most High. And I'm a person, scripture trumps all. That I think that by now you all should get that sense from me from this channel. I'm all about the scriptures. If the scripture justifies something, justifies a place, then I'm all about it. But once there's a contradiction, I'm trying to figure out who changed the scripture because Yahweh's breathed scripture should not have any contradiction, right? Would not have any contradiction. Anything that comes from the Most High, perfect as He is, would not contain contradiction. So when I see those contradictions, then I'm like, who changed this, right? And that was what made me decide, oh, wow, it's true. This is in East Africa. It was not inside of Palestine, it was not inside of the Middle East. And I understand it's a hard thing to swallow that we've been lied to on that immense scale. Guess what? There's so much more lies coming, and I think we'll get into some real big ones very soon. Now, as we said, that's where the place is. Now, if you go to the biblical archaeology, which we have to discuss in and of itself, biblical archaeology is in no means academic. It's propaganda, political propaganda. I know some of us say, there's so much proof that it's in Palestine. Look at this site. Look at this site. Propaganda. And I won't get into it in this particular video. I believe within the next few videos, we're going to start unraveling some of that propaganda. Okay. But they are very clear to identify this place called Gihon as being a spring. Okay. And they even found a tunnel. They said this is Hezekiah's tunnel inside of our Jerusalem. And that there's a spring that runs through it. And they named this spring Gihon. Okay. Notice I said they named it, right? Because in scripture, in no way is Gihon mentioned as being a spring. So let's go to the scriptures that reference Gihon. I want you to know that depending on what translation of scripture you have, it might actually say Gihon spring. Okay. That's why we have to pay attention to something called italics because they add words to the Bible, but they're usually not good enough to put it in italics to say that we added this word. Now, if you go, for example, the same ones I just read, 2 Chronicles 33:14 and 2 Chronicles 32:30 in the NIV, they say Gihon spring, but the spring was actually added. Why was it added? Because inside of biblical archaeology, that's so academic, they said, oh, we identified the Gihon. It's the spring that runs inside of our Israel, inside of our Jerusalem. And so therefore, this is what it is inside of this translation of the Bible, because a lot of the people who are in publishing these Bibles are literally in cahoots with Zionist political propaganda. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Gihon, as is if you are familiar with the research we've done on the set apart promised land, Gihon is not a spring. It's actually the Nile River. You would have to go back to Genesis. In fact, I didn't pull that scripture, so let me take a second to pull it. Well, really, the verse 10 through 13 talks about the 4 rivers of Eden, but we're going to zero in on verse 13. So it's talking about the rivers that are going to come from out of Eden. Then it says the name of the second river is Gihon. It flows around the whole land of Cush. Where was Cush? Cush was south of Egypt. Okay. Gihon was not a spring. It was a river. And it was never spoken about as a stream inside of scripture. There was no differentiation between this Gihon and the Gihon that existed where David told his priest to anoint his son. So where it says that they went to the Gihon and that the Gihon was actually later on diverted into the city of David by King Hezekiah, that was like that was the clue I needed, right? Whatever city is the set apart city, whatever city is that place, is going to have some type of spring that's coming from the Gihon running through that city. Meaning there's going to be some type of waterway that connects directly to the Nile River from that city, and the same city would be surrounded by mountains. Okay. And I identified it. That was Axum. Axum actually becomes the capital later on inside of the Axumite Empire. That becomes the capital of the kingdom, right? And so I was so sure because it's surrounded by mountains and it literally has something called the Tekeze River. And it is a river that runs directly through the west side of the city, just like Hezekiah had a offshoot of the Gihon run through the west side of the set apart city, as we're told inside of scripture. Okay. Now, here is where I'm going to explain to you my mistake. But give another shout out to Brother Nicholas Mason, and particularly for his approach to sharing and disagreement. And I think it's something that a lot of people can learn about. As a lot of people, whenever I put out information and I'm very sure about it, we can kind of grow an ego around it, and we can say, "Oh, I know I'm right. I know I'm right." But then at some point, sometimes we find ourselves pushing to be right, not because we're looking for Yahweh's word to be right, but we're looking for ourselves to be right. Okay. And this is something I've learned. And this is why I'm always checking myself, always through fasting and prayer. That's where you can differentiate where you're acting out on the spirit versus acting out on the flesh. And so one of the things that for me was kind of hard was when some people were actually very combative whenever I said that it wasn't Yeha. And some people were actually, very argumentative. And of course, that puts up the defenses. Brother Mason was not like that. He has the YouTube channel Real Hidden Light. I keep telling you all, go over to the channel if you want to see real footage of the promised land. But he actually messaged me very, very kindly, very humbly said, listen, we don't agree on where Set Apart City is, but we do agree on where the promised land is. Let's just build on that. Let's talk. And over some months, over years, but over months, we started talking more as of this past year, 2025. And we trading information, disagreeing, still don't agree on everything, but just trading information. And by the way, I want to give you all kind of like the story of what was a divine revelation where I did realize it was Yeha. But before we get there, let's just talk more about let's talk more about this site actually. Let's talk more about the Yeha temple. So this is the UN's, this is UNESCO, the World Heritage Convention. They said the cultural heritage of Yeha. The site of Yeha is located in a modern town hidden by the Adwa chain of mountains about 53 kilometers to the west of the World Heritage Site of Axum in Central Administrative Zone of Tigray, National Regional State in northern Ethiopia. It is located in a fertile basin with an altitude of 2,150 meters, surrounded by a spectacular volcanic mountain chain surrounded by mountains. It is a sacred place for the Ethiopian Orthodox Christians, a living memory and religious practices of the same believers since the foundation of the monastery of Ebune Aksie in the 6th century AD by one of the 9 saints who came to the northern horn from Europe and the Middle East in the same century for evangelization. The site preserves 2 complex monumental buildings known as, and we're going to talk about this one because it's very important, the Grat Bil Gubri Palace, and I might butcher these pronunciations, so please forgive me, and then the Yeha, and then 2 cemetery areas called the Rock Cut Shaft Tomb of Daro Mekel and the Rock Cut Tombs of Abi Adi, dating to the early and middle of the 1st century BC. Okay. It also preserves rich, intact underground archaeological structures located around these monumental structures and around the tombs mentioned above, dating to the same period. Now let's focus in on the Temple of Yeha. The Great Temple of Yeha, which dates to about the 7th century BC, was dedicated to the deity Almaka. It was built on a hilltop, and okay, let me emphasize that part. It was built on a hill.
You notice, right? Let me show my face while I'm talking. Do you notice when she talks about the God that they worship, she said Amaka, she said fast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is the deity Almaka in the Bible? Is that one of the deities that the Israelites would say, hey, they worshipped? You see, this is not difficult. These people are scamming the people's minds. This is the problem. Why is she doing this? You see, everything that Ron Dalton does, I see other people in Africa and he goes on their channels and all that stuff. It's one big thing to say, here what? The African Americans, y'all got it wrong. Y'all invented this, but y'all got it wrong. She's speaking without insurmountable evidence. Almaka is Kemetic, fool. Okay, Almaka is, you even spell it wrong in the chat. You don't even know what you're talking about. Almaka is an Arabic deity. This is just, I don't understand. That's Arab. Just stop it. Because you're not going to come on the panel and prove yourself. Stop acting tough behind a keyboard. Come on the panel, I'll mute up. You talk for 2 minutes, you mute up. I talk for 2 minutes, I mute up, and you go from there. So if I want to stay ignorant, ignorant is lack of knowledge. That's what it means, lack of knowledge. You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to play any more of this because this is just complete garbage. Garbage. And if you buy her book, you're just as stupid as she is. Yeah, I call her stupid. This is 2026. Craziness. Now, let me take her off the screen for a second. And I'm not mad. I'm just speaking from my heart. You're a beautiful black woman. I love you. I respect you, but you're being stupid. You're being ignorant. Nothing you're saying is correct. It's just facts. I don't hate her. I just hate the information she's spewing like she's talking the truth. The African Exodus. Those people, they lying to us. The Bible you have was preserved. The Hebrew language was preserved by the people that you hate. That's the crazy part about it. Shout out to my green juice, banana, ginger, kale, almond milk, what else? Ahmed Belton said deal with it. Hey, I love y'all, man. Kelly's give me her phone number before you roast her. Yo, family, listen, man. And shout out to Brother Law. Because Brother Law always bring me back down to humbleness. You know what's crazy? You have to know the language to make the conclusion that she's saying. And she said, NIV says, this says, you know what, indigenous black man, I don't even need you on my channel, bro. I don't even need you or your comments on my channel. I'm just tired of that. But on the real though, with all that we've been through as black folks, I'm saying, family, we got to stop this nonsense. After this, I'm gonna go into the 70 AD war and play a video and do some commentary. If anybody want to come on, I realize why the Hebrew Israelites believe what they believe, and we're gonna go through Rudolph Windsor's book, and we're gonna dismantle the information. So I got my Knicks on today, so I'm hyped. I'm hyped as hell. I gotta go get my jersey, my Carlton. Oh, I got another jersey over here, so I could put that one on while we live. So I gotta wear my jerseys while I'm watching the Knicks game. Hey, shout out to the people for supporting the channel, by the way. Tell a friend to tell a friend, man. I'm on only 1 day a week. And as I tell my baby girl, I said, listen, this is therapy for me. This is all this is. You, Dixon, don't let me block you. All right. And by the way, man, the older you get, by you reach 35, it's time you start changing your diet. Because instead of you worried about even small things, you worried about money, you worried about you keeping your job, or if you have your own business, you hope your business is successful. But one thing that's going to make you live and look as beautiful as our Minister Farrakhan looks today in his 90s, you got to start working on your health. You got to start working on your health. So we could argue about all of this stuff, the Knicks, the Hebrew Israelites, the Christians, whatever. We got to worry about our health, man. So shout out to us. we got to do about that. But all right, so let's get this now. So now this is what a simple Google search did. Look at this right here. This is what a simple Google search did. So let's look at Yeha. Let's make this bigger for everybody. As a matter of fact, let me back up a little bit. Let's just go to the article that they give us through AI, the AI overview. I don't even need to go any further. The AI overview is enough because it gives you the sources and where to look. Look at what it says to the right. The first thing it says on the right as a source: restoration of 27-year-old temple. Now ask yourself, when was Solomon's temple made? When was it built? You see, what happened is when people see her on her live and they say, oh, she believes in the Bible, I believe in the Bible, we the Israelites, she black, we black. We find commonalities to excuse pseudoisms. She's a pseudo, and you need to call her out for that. I've been wanting to make a video about her. She is so pseudo. The issue is, when was the temple? When was the temple? The temple was built 2,700 years ago. When was the Solomon's temple built as far as your belief in the same book? Over 2,900 years ago. Almost 3,000 years ago. So that alone should ring bells in your head like, yo, what up? What up? Then the place that's called Ethiopia is not what the Bible is referring to. That's another thing. The Greeks named anything south of Egypt Ethiopia. That means West Africa is Ethiopia. That means South Africa is Ethiopia. That means Central Africa is Ethiopia. Did you know Herodotus documented gold in West Africa? Did y'all know that? I'm not going to talk about that today. What about the Garamantes, who was the intermediaries to the trade, what became later the trans-Saharan slave trade? They were the ones that was moving gold and people way before Islam even existed in Africa. So we can't just blame Islam for slavery when the Garamantes, who are Africans, were known even by Herodotus. They've been doing trade for thousands of years. So now, if you're saying to me, ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia, nah, I just timed him out, man. I was not in the mood for him today. I just timed him out. I ain't clip him. I just timed him out. But let's just look at the overview. The overview alone tells us everything already. Look at this. The Temple of Yeha, located in Tigray, Ethiopia, is the country's oldest standing structure, dating back to approximately 700 BC. Dedicated to the moon god, they actually spelled it wrong, Almaka. This pre-Aksumite Sabian-style temple is famous for its 14-meter-high mortarless dry stone masonry. So we have the wrong time period, 700 BC. We have the wrong god, a god that no Israelite in the Bible worshipped. It serves as a major archaeological site, often linked to the biblical Queen of Sheba, and underwent significant restoration. Look here, age and significance, known as the Great Temple of Yeha, 7th century BC. Architecture, location, archaeological finds. It's a beautiful temple. Nobody's knocking it. Nobody's knocking it. Nobody. What is the oldest temple in Ethiopia? Let's look. Oh, the Temple of Yeha. Oh, because Ethiopia is where the temple is and where the main place is. There wasn't even an Aksumite society then. You had the Demid Empire, which was extremely small. Oh, man, I got to give you... You see, this is why I'm glad I am the way I am. I'm extremely well-rounded with biblical history and Ethiopia and all that stuff. I'm extremely well-rounded. So I'll say this to the lady. Stop teaching this. Stop teaching. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. You're going to keep doing it because you get money for it. You see, I don't monetize. My channel is not even monetized like that. If y'all don't donate to me, I don't really get money. So I'm not in it for the money, per se. I'm not a YouTuber making videos every day. Maybe if I had the time. You got to go past the minute. Okay, that's a wrap. Jump on the channel. Jump on the panel. You're on the clock right now. Jump on the channel. Come on, brother. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna get into, if anybody wants to be a part of this, 70 AD Jews fled into West Africa. There's a couple videos out, and I do want to play something that's archaeologically sound about the Jewish siege. All right. They got 2 videos. Kings and Generals have a video, 1.9 million. Let me see what he's talking about. Somebody that's got Kings and General, one of the top YouTube channels on when it comes.
Tolerant for the time and throughout the centuries.
All right. Shout out to them. Dasha Rab, you're not going to come up, but this is very important. And the reason why I want to talk about this, because this is where the Hebrew Israelites have it wrong. And I want to talk about it in a manner that's not talking down to my brothers. I shout out, I respect what Zion Lex bring to the game. I respect what Yawasap bring to the game. I even respect what Katazar bring to the game. I respect what Priest Daniela bring to the game. But we got to be honest with the evidence. And 2 things we got to bring up. We got to bring up 70 AD, and we got to bring up, what's his name? Rudolph Windsor. And we're going to talk about this. And I want to get into Lamlam, but I probably got to do it next week. I probably won't get to do it this week. I want to put an end to that whole Lamlam stuff with the Jews. Not an end to it, but what it really is and what it's really about. And people need to look at the scholarship. I'm going to start putting the links in the chat so that you guys could get the scholarship. Don't take my word for it, as Dr. York would say. Don't take my word for it. Go research. But he knows that the average person don't have time. You're working 40, 60 hours a week. You ain't got no time to research. So they depend on people like myself, a Zion, a Yawasap to research. But what's wrong with when an Israelite researches? They're looking for stuff to agree with them, not for stuff to disagree with them. They're not looking at all the sources. And it's a shame 70 AD and Rudolph Windsor is being used. And I want to say this before I even play this. 70 AD is why I know African Americans aren't Israelites. Because the history that backs it up is a problem when you really study it. James Carvers, I'll get into the Garamantes another time. All right, let's go. You do the same. All right, so Hugh Dixon, I don't have a motive, because to be honest, subconsciously, we all want to be chosen. So if I'm lying or if I'm incorrect, I want you to point me to where I'm incorrect. Let's not be disrespectful. Let's do what we're going to do. And I need some people on the panel, man. Come on, let's talk. Let's stop being scared. Garfield is, yeah, I study a lot. Yeah, I got a lot of knowledge, but I don't know everything. I don't know everything. The 70 AD history, we're going to get into that today, right now. We're going to get into that right now. We're going to get into what Josephus wrote. And we're going to get into as much as possible of the information that's possible so that we can have a direct conversation. And what inspired me to do this is that I did a post on Facebook where I asked everybody, during the 70 AD war, where did the refugees, not the captives, I'm not worried about what the 97,000, where did the refugees are people who are running away. Because they talk about being fled into Africa and did this and did that. So I want to have this conversation so that we can get through this importantly. Jews in North Africa, did any of them flee to West Africa? I mean, not to West Africa, to North Africa. I'm not worried about West Africa right now. All right, hold on a second. Let me get this right here. Yeah, I got to get this out the way. Because the primary person we're using is Josephus. He's the primary guy. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, Josephus is key, and I want to get this right. And I got to get up my my presentation from my keynote, the Zion is Dead presentation. I got to bring that up. Hold on a second, family. All right, so we have Zion is Dead. And I want everybody to pay attention to something that I'm going to show on the screen real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Where's my debate slides? All right, here we go. All right. While y'all watching this, right? Do me a favor. While you guys are watching this, I want y'all to pay attention to something real quick. I want you to say this. Look at this right here. You see this map right here? This is the map of the Roman Empire during 70 AD. I'm going to make this a little smaller. And I want y'all to think about something. Don't answer right now, but think about this for a second. This is the Roman Empire. They control where Elephantine is. They control near Nubia. They didn't control Nubia, but they control near Nubia. But look at where Israel is. This is called Roman Judea. Roman Judea includes Moab, Idumea, and all of Israel, right? Now, if you are running from right here, you ain't got no ships now. If you're running from Judah or Israel, West Africa is all the way over here on the Mauritania. Where are you going to go? You can't go to the Mount Sinai area and Egypt because Rome controls it. The only area you have freedom is basically Arabia. See? Arabia. That's the area you could go, which actually Jews were at the time. They had small communities there. But just, I want y'all to think about this while I'm playing the video on what's going on. Because you're going to have to look at it and say to yourself, where are we going to go? You put yourself in a position right now as a slave and you're running from your slave master. Where are you going to go? From the south, you're going to the northern states. All right. Now, let me get back to the video. Dasharab, you're just a troll at this point. Because you're a coward. You're being a coward, brother. You're going to let Garfield call you a coward? And you know y'all watch because Garfield got that info, man. But anyway, let's get it.
Even incorporated many deities of their former enemies. However, the Romans always experienced problems with monotheism. The most prominent monotheistic group in the early Roman Empire were the Jews. This enduring people, motivated by their religion, would be a consistent thorn in the side of Roman leaders for centuries. One of the most infamous episodes of violence between Rome and Judaism would be the Jewish Revolt of 66 to 74 AD, culminating in the capture of Jerusalem and the destruction of the Second Temple. After a rebellion against the declining Seleucid Empire, the Hasmonean dynasty came to power in Judea during 146 BC. In 67 BC, two brothers, Hyrcanus and Aristobulus, drove the realm into civil war. To the north, Roman general Pompey had been finishing up the Mithridatic Wars, and in 63 BC, thrusted south along the eastern coast of the Mediterranean. Upon his arrival in Damascus, he intervened in the civil war on behalf of Hyrcanus, captured Jerusalem, and eventually made Judea a client kingdom. After a brief Parthian occupation, Rome captured the city again in 37 BC and installed their client Herod as king. In 4 BC he perished, and Judea became a Roman province. Imperial authority in the region.
Come on, some people. Come on, man. Let's talk about this. We need to have a conversation about this. But listen, what's important here is this, right? Old Testament is complete once the Judeans take over all of Israel, right? The Judeans are ruling the entire area for almost 100 years, right? The Romans come and take over Judea and put Herod in power around 37 BC. Judea now, this is why the New Testament has to come into play now, because now you need a Messiah to free you from under the Romans, just like how you freed from under the Greeks, you're freed from under the Persians, you're freed from under the Babylonians, before that the Assyrians. Now, who is the Messiah that's going to free you? This is where people start looking for a Messiah now to come, a Jesus, this guy, that guy, Judas of Galilee, or this Jesus Menenius, or Jesus the Christ, Jesus of Nazareth. I'm sorry. So now that's going on at this time, but who is ruling? Well, let's pay attention now.
Leaned heavily on the local elites, but they often lacked the confidence of the wider Jewish population, resulting in near perpetual strife. Throughout the early 1st century, Jewish frustration grew, and they chafed under the Roman boot. This resulted in increasingly violent actions perpetrated by sects such as the infamous Jewish Sicarii. Judea was a powder keg, a tangle of class, ethnic, and religious divisions. In 66 AD, a Greek mob profaned the Caesarea synagogue, and that led to riots among the infuriated Jewish population. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Roman procurator Gessius Florus chose this inopportune moment to collect overdue taxes. In an unwise move, he did this by plundering 17 talents of silver and gold from the treasury of the Second Temple.
Bear in mind, when the war took place, I believe there's a tradition where the Romans waited until it was like Passover, where all the Jews from all over came in. That's why it was so populated. All right. And they choose that time to starting the war.
Reacting to this, some young and bold Jews mocked Florus by begging for spare change in the name of the apparently poverty-stricken procurator. Infuriated, Florus executed thousands. When he moved to bring in reinforcements, the Jews began to resist. Overwhelmed by the local population, the Roman soldiers retreated to the citadel, and the Great Jewish Revolt began. The members of the radical Jewish sect, Sicarii, then marched to the fortress of Masada, where they proceeded to overwhelm and massacre the 700-strong garrison. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, the soldiers who had withdrawn to the palace sued for terms, but were massacred when they tried to surrender their weapons. The rival Jewish factions united, brutally capturing the fortress of Kypros and securing the surrender of Machaerus. Tensions among the disparate populations erupted as well. Greek mobs would massacre Jews in cities such as Ascalon, Caesarea, and Tyre, while Jewish prowled the region and retaliated. The Roman Empire could not allow such defiance, and the proconsul of Syria, Cestius Gallus, marched south with 30,000 troops. Gallus sought to seize Jerusalem in order to restore order, but the siege failed, and the legions were subsequently ambushed at the Beth Horon Pass as they retreated to the coast. Lightly armed Jewish rebels, wielding javelins, slings, and bows, encircled them and inflicted huge losses. Legio 12 Fulminata was annihilated, the army's siege weapons were captured, and the legionary Aquila Eagle Standard was lost. Gallus's punitive campaign had been a complete catastrophe and emboldened the rebels. To the west, Roman Emperor Nero received word of the revolt in Judea whilst on a concert tour of Greece. Requiring a competent general to take charge and crush the insurrection, Nero appointed a veteran of the British campaign, Titus Flavius Vespasianus, otherwise known as Vespasian, to command the army of Judea. Vespasian immediately set off for Judea, taking the overland route over the Hellespont and through the Great Cilician Gates. After reaching the city of Antioch, 2 legions and their associated auxiliary units joined him. Vespasian marched south to Ptolemais, while his son, Titus, was sent to Alexandria in order to take command of another legion and march it north to join the main army. Meanwhile, reinforcements also arrived from the various local allies and clients. In total, the empire mustered around 60,000 troops to crush the revolt. No prisoners were taken, and entire opposition villages were reduced to ash. This proved to be effective, as the 10,000-strong Jewish field army quickly scattered in all directions, seeking haven in the fortified strongpoints. In the subsequent campaign into Galilee during 67 AD, Vespasian systematically moved through the region, brutalizing any defiant settlement and often allowing his rapacious legionaries free rein to loot, burn, murder, and pillage as they pleased. Critical settlements defending the region were captured. Jotapata fell to Vespasian first, followed by Joppa, Tiberias, Tarichaea, and Gamala, before his army was finally billeted in its winter quarters, leaving a subdued region in its wake. The fall of Galilee to Vespasian's legionaries prompted more internal strife among the Jewish factions. As the campaigning season of 68 AD began, Vespasian was in no hurry to intervene, stating that since our enemies are busy dying by their own hands, the best course of action would be to stay as spectators instead of taking on fanatics who welcome death and are already busy murdering each other.
Bear in mind, there are people who is not participating in the wars who are leaving the area. That's called refugees. Those are refugees. Remember the other day in Africa, all these refugees during the war with Libya or whatever, refugees leaving Libya and going to different areas in Africa. This is what's going on right now at that time.
Content to leave Jerusalem to its internal squabbling, the Roman general marched across the mountainous province of Perea and Judea proper, taking almost every settlement of note one by one, laying waste to the countryside and slaughtering tens of thousands of civilians. The campaigning season of 69 AD began similarly. Dispatching his subordinates to the peripheral regions, Vespasian marched on Jerusalem itself. He established garrisons in the towns that anchored his supply lines to the coast, while the Roman horsemen rode down and destroyed any remaining hostile units in the vicinity of Jerusalem. It seemed like only a miracle could save the rebels from Vespasian's wrath. They would get one very soon. Discontent with Emperor Nero's infamous excesses had been building throughout the 60s AD, and now it finally came to a head. Back in March of 68 AD, the provincial governor of Gallia Lugdunensis, Vindex, rebelled against Nero. His revolt was quickly crushed, but it set the tone for the Year of the Four Emperors, as another pretender named Galba was declared emperor and marched on Rome. Deserted by his Praetorian Guard, Nero was forced to commit suicide. Galba did not last long, and a few months later he was usurped by Otho, who subsequently was dethroned by Vitellius. Spiraling defiance of imperial authority also resulted in a Batavian revolt on the Rhine River, and grain supplies to Rome from Africa being cut off. With the empire suddenly in the process of eating itself alive, the campaign into Judea came to a halt, as Vespasian paused to consider his options. Finally, on July 1st, 69 AD, Vespasian was proclaimed Caesar by the prefect of Egypt in the presence of his legions. The Flavian faction, Vespasian, his family, and supporters, then held a war council where their strategy was decided. Vespasian would establish his headquarters in Egypt, while Titus, assisted by Tiberius Alexander, would conclude the campaign of subduing the Jews. Titus began the Jerusalem campaign in spring of 70 AD, departing Alexandria and marching up the Mediterranean coast towards Caesarea. The army assembled there was even larger than that commanded by Vespasian in the previous years. At its core were 4 Roman legions: Legio 15 Apollinaris, Legio 5 Macedonica, Legio 10 Fretensis, and Legio 12 Fulminata. In addition, 20 cohorts of auxiliary infantry, 8 alae of cavalry, and many thousands of native troops were present, commanded by the Roman client kings in the region. This was a massive force, totaling around 70,000 troops. Using the network of garrison strongpoints his father had established, Titus marched straight at the city of Jerusalem by the main road, whilst sending some other legions on alternative routes to alleviate supply problems. Upon nearing the city, Titus rode ahead with 600 hand-picked horsemen to perform reconnaissance on the city. However, as this force approached the Stephanus Tower, a large force of Jews charged out of the city and cut down many of Titus's men. The commander himself was almost captured, but narrowly managed to escape. Advanced Roman units from Legions 15 and 12 appeared on the hills to the north of the city on April 23rd. During that night, Legio 5 arrived, followed by Titus himself the next morning. The Jews had been preparing for such a siege since the times of Herod, and they had managed to fortify the city considerably. Manning their stations behind Jerusalem's 3 formidable walls, the garrison of the city probably amounted to over 20,000 well-armed troops, who still possessed the siege artillery captured at Beth Horon. Many of the Jews defending the city had lost their families in the previous Roman campaigns and wanted revenge. Despite its population being swollen by refugees, water was not a problem, as Jerusalem had many cisterns and pools that could be filled with rainwater. However, food stores had been burned in the inter-Judaic strife months before, and the situation was therefore tenuous. This strife was still ongoing, even with the Romans so close, and the defending forces were split into 3 sub-factions. Realizing his newly arrived legions must be exhausted from the night march, Titus gave orders to construct 2 camps to the west of the city, one joint camp for the 12th and 15th legions at a stop 3/4 of a mile west of the city walls, and another camp 600 yards further back for the 5th legion. Shortly after this, the 10th legion arrived and was ordered to encamp to the east of the city on the Mount of Olives. The looming Roman siege temporarily united the squabbling Jewish factions, and they agreed on an immediate attack against the soldiers of the 10th Legion, who were busy constructing their hilltop camp. Sallying out of the city, a detachment of rebels rushed up the slope and cut down droves of legionnaires. Encouraged by this initial success, reinforcements were sent to press the attack, and they managed to drive the men of the 10th Legion from their uncompleted camp. Hearing of their plight, Titus arrived with his cavalry bodyguard and struck the Jews from the flank, driving them back into the ravine between their camp and the city walls. However, they then attacked again instead of retreating. Under this renewed assault, the Romans broke and fled to the heights, leaving their general. Ashamed, and realizing Titus had not fled, the legion regrouped, charged, and prompted the Jews to flee back to the city. The camp on the hill was subsequently finished, though now it was clear that the Jews would not meekly submit to them. Aiming to prevent this happening again, Titus posted strong contingents of horse and footmen to the east of the city to deter further sorties, and ordered that the ground between the Roman camps and the city was to be leveled. This would both deny the guerrilla fighters a favorable hiding place and allow siege engines to advance. With this done, Titus decided on concentrating his assault on the western flank of the third wall between Stephanus Tower and the western gate. The 3 legions facing this section of the wall were each ordered to construct an earth and timber ramp. The construction efforts were initially disrupted by sorties out of the city, but the concentration of Roman artillery, including large stone-throwing devices and quick-firing iron bolt-throwing scorpions, pinned the Jews down long enough for the works to be completed. Retaining a steady rain of missiles on the walls, Titus then ordered 3 battering rams to smash the western wall, which were initially unsuccessful until 3 siege towers were brought up to reinforce them. After a long period of pressure, on the 15th day of the siege, Roman siege engines punched a hole through the wall. With their entire force now at risk, the defenders quickly withdrew to the second wall, leaving Titus to occupy the new city. Unwilling to surrender their momentum, the legions immediately moved their rams up to the second wall, where they began to batter the tower gate. After just 4 days of attacks, one of the rams brought it down and made a breach. Legionaries flooded through it into the eerily silent second city. However, as they advanced, rebels sprung from ambush positions and bombarded the Romans with missile fire. Quickly forming into their tight shielded squares, the legions fought their way back to the narrow breach, where many died struggling to push through. Eventually, auxiliary archers arrived and drove the Jews away, allowing the bewildered legionaries to escape. After the Jews resisted in this area for 4 more days, the Romans finally broke through. This time, Titus ordered the entire northern section of the second wall torn down. The defensive front now narrowed, and the Jews were able to bring more forces to bear on their enemy. After advancing into the second city, Titus now split his legions into 2 army groups, which each constructed 2 siege ramps. The 10th and 15th legions attacked the first wall opposite the tomb of John Hyrcanus, while the 5th and 12th legions besieged the Antonia fortress, named by Herod the Great in honor of Mark Antony. The ramps were eventually completed on May 29th, followed by an all-out assault, during which Titus brought up additional battering rams and siege engines to assault the Antonia fortress. They did this under constant artillery fire from bolt shooters and stone throwers, which the Jews had taken from Gallus in 66. As the assault began, Jewish sappers dug under the Roman siege lines, undermined the ramps, and set fire to the tunnel. This caused the ground to collapse in on itself in a clattering roar, swallowing the Roman ramps and siege towers, which demoralized the legions, as they had spent weeks constructing these engines. To improve security, tighten the blockade, and restore morale, Titus ordered that an 8-kilometer-long wall of circumvallation was to be constructed, cutting the besieged sections of Jerusalem off from the outside world. This massive undertaking was typically finished in only 3 days by the Romans, and had 13 fortresses along its circumference to strengthen it. Before it was made, the Jewish rebels were able to quite easily venture out of the city to forage for food and supplies, but this was now made impossible. Famine quickly descended on the city, and its inhabitants slowly began to starve and die. This done, Titus now focused all his efforts on conquering the Antonia fortress again. A day of assaults initially yielded no results. However, the Romans had accomplished more than they had realized. The foundations of the Antonia fortress, undermined by heavy rain and the Jewish saboteurs' tunnel which had destroyed the Roman siege engines, collapsed during the night. The first Romans who exploited this gap discovered to their horror that the Jews had built up a secondary wall behind the first, which was eventually overcome when a contingent of brave legionaries attacked it during a night assault. The first of several battles for the Temple Mount occurred after this, during which the Romans failed to break out onto the forecourt. In its aftermath, Titus ordered the Antonia fortress destroyed. On July 17th, the Romans attempted to seize the temple's courtyard again, but were again repulsed in close quarters fighting, during which the Jews were often wearing captured Roman equipment. This confused the combatants and made friendly fire incidents common. Neither side was able to gain an advantage under these conditions. After the second failure, Titus ordered that 4 siege ramps were to be constructed and used against the northwest corner of the Temple Mount. At the same time, the Jews proved they were not beaten when a major sortie was launched against the siege wall protecting the Mount of Olives, but was repelled. The Jews also abandoned the area of the wall where the Roman siege ramps were mounted. However, they had rigged the area with a fire trap, and this killed many soldiers as they advanced, seemingly unhindered. By August 9th, withering artillery fire and Roman offensives had made the Jewish defense of the courtyard untenable, and they pulled back to the inner defenses of the temple itself. On August 10th, during the heavy fighting, a fire began in apartments near the outer court, which spread and famously set the Second Temple alight, being spread due to the arid conditions and the flammable materials all around. With Jewish attention divided between fighting the fires which blazed through their most holy place and defending against the Romans, they were finally broken, and their entire Temple Mount was seized in an orgy of butchery and looting. With their bloodlust finally sated, the Roman soldiers proclaimed Titus Imperator, victorious general. With this done, the legions were unleashed on the lower city, burning houses, government buildings, archives, and anything else the legions could get their hands on. Clearing this area of rebels took 2 days, and after another short assault, Herod's palace was taken by September 7th. The slaughter during the fall of Jerusalem supposedly resulted in the death of at least hundreds of thousands of civilians, pilgrims, and soldiers. Titus returned to Rome, where his father Vespasian, now the Roman emperor after his victory in 70 AD, granted him a triumph. The Arch of Titus was also dedicated to him, which remains to this day. While a few isolated rebel strongholds remained, notably the Sicarii fortress of Masada, the Jewish revolt had been essentially crushed at Jerusalem. But this was not the end of Jewish resistance, and more wars would be fought between them and the empire. New videos on Roman history are on the way, so make sure you...
Hey, I want to say, first of all, to everybody, let's come on the panel. Let's have a discussion about this and Rudolph Windsor. Can we have this conversation and have it wholeheartedly, so that we can deal with everything one-on-one and handle our business? Come on. I would love for y'all to jump on and have this conversation. This is a very important discussion for Hebrew Israelites. Perspective, why are you so aggressive? What happened? Who's aggressive in the chat? All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is point out to you guys is this scripture here. A lot of my Hebrew Israelite brothers like to go to Luke 21:24 and go to the King James Bible. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Now, a lot of people get into this and say whatever. Remember, there's a difference between they fled into Africa. Fled into Africa is refugees. Captives is a different ball game. So we can't say Luke 21:24 has to do with African Americans in West Africa, because Luke 21:24, we have to look at it for what it's worth. First, let's talk about what we have on record where history and archaeology evidence says they went during the 70 AD war. They went to Italy, they went to Greece, they went to Egypt, they went to North Africa, Asia Minor, Syria, Gaul, which is France, Spain, and they went to Mesopotamia as captives, not as refugees. That's a big point. So if anybody want to jump on, Samarkand, I see you in the chat, jump on. Let's have this conversation, because we're gonna show you why no one should be quoting Rudolph Windsor in a minute. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive. Led away captive into all nations. What about Australia and New Zealand? Was Black Africans or Black Americans, did any of your family get led to New Zealand and Australia? Because there was no Jewish people in Australia until the British went there. So it couldn't mean America or the whole world. It's talking about the nations, what the Romans controlled at the time. And if you look at where they sent them, you'll see that it's the areas: Italy, Greece, Egypt, North Africa, Asia Minor, Syria, Gaul, Spain, Mesopotamia, all the areas where the Roman Empire controlled or semi-controlled. Let me see what they say as a cross-reference, what they do here. Oh, they use a lot of scriptures, huh? Okay. So if you look at it right here, it says, and be led into all the nation. Following the fall of Jerusalem, many Jews were taken as captives, not refugees, captives, and dispersed throughout the Roman Empire. This dispersion of diaspora fulfilled prophecies such as those found in Deuteronomy 28:64, where God warned of scattering his people among the nations due to disobedience. The historical context of this dispersion is crucial, as it led to the widespread presence of Jewish communities across the Mediterranean and beyond, influencing both Jewish and Christian history. Very interesting. Very interesting. Captivity refers to the dispersion of the Jewish people among the nation, a recurring theme in Jewish history. The edge of the sword, a phrase indicating warfare and destruction. Okay. All right. All right. So we have an idea of what that means. All right. So I want to make that clear to everybody. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is Josephus. Where did the Jews fled to? Where did they fled to? Like, you know, what's his name said? Rudolph Windsor. Hold on a second. Let me get this. Let me get the information straight. And by the way, too, have you ever seen, I've shown this before. I think I've shown this before. I want to show it again right now. I have a presentation where actually, let me see if I could bring it up so people could take a look at it. I have a presentation where I want everybody to look at this carefully. I want you to look at this carefully, right? All right. If you look at this right here, let me see how it shows on the screen. Okay. Notice the whole world. Look at this now. Four corners was an idiom used in the ancient Near East, right? So we say four corners being used in Isaiah 11 verses 11 to 12. And we see that says that Cyrus ruled the entire world. The whole entire world can be the entire world. But in this case, we see Sumerians calling themselves kings of the four corners of the world. Look at where the four corners is. Look on the right-hand side. Look on the left-hand side. North, south, east, and west. That's the entire world for them right there. It's the same thing right here. On the right-hand side, the whole world or earth should not be taken literally in all cases. In some cases, like in Isaiah, it means the whole world. It does. It actually does. And the reason why I showed that, because where the Jews were scattered, they're actually sent to the north, south, east, and west of the Roman Empire. Look at this map right now that I did. Look at this map right here. I want y'all to pay attention real carefully. This is very important. Look at this map right here. Let me see if I could bring this on the stage. Let me see. Where is it at? All right, here we go. Hold on, design. Right, so let's go back here. This is the Roman map, right? Roman world. So you see right here, Mauritania, go up to Spain, right here. They rule right here. Spain. They ruled, let's look at the 4 eras that they ruled. So in the northern era, they used Greece and Macedonia. So from Judea to the entire Roman world, they control Greece and Macedonia in the north. They control Syria, Asia Minor, and Mesopotamia in the east. They control Egypt, Cyrene, and North Africa in the south. And in the west, they control Rome, which is Italy, Gaul, and Spain. So basically on the map, we could see exactly where they control. So this is captivity in all the nations. All right. If anybody want to discuss that, jump on. All right. Now, would you agree, ladies and gentlemen, that Rudolph Windsor wrote in Babylon the Timbuktu during the period, hold on, let me see if I need to jump to that first. All right, so with Luke 21:24, just to finish that argument, Jewish dispersion after Jesus' prophecy in Luke 21:24, Jesus predicts this around 30 CE, around 40 to 50 years later, the Jewish-Roman War, mass enslavement, over 97,000 captives, Jews scattered across the empire, slaves, refugees, deportees. Synagogues appear widely in Italy, Greece, Asia Minor, and Egypt. Jewish diaspora revolts. 115 to 117. Jewish populations already large in Egypt, Cyrene, Cyprus, and Mesopotamia. Proof dispersion already global. All right. So we see all these things happening that Luke 21:24. If you believe it's a prophecy, it's a prophecy. If you believe it's history written after the fact, it's written after the fact. I'm not here to argue all of that right now. That's that. All right. So we know where they went. The Jews were dispersed, north, south, west, and east of the empire. We know what Jesus predicted and all that stuff. All right. Now, what is important now is let's take a look at what Rudolph Windsor said. And this is important. And I want to keep this map on the screen for a reason. Right? Hugh Dixon, if you want to jump on so we could build on this, like men, you could jump on the panel. The link is at the top. All right? And I want everybody to, and I'm going to read the sources out. So if you have a pen and paper out, so you could read it out. Not everything I'm going to post in the chat. All right? Rudolph Windsor on page 83 and 84 from Babylon the Timbuktu writes, during the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. I call cap. So what happened is he actually sources this and says he got this from Philo and Professor A.H. Godby. He uses that to support the idea that about 1 million Jews were in Egypt and Libya and that Jews were spread across North Africa. So he's clearly suggesting Pompey to Julius, in that period over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. Those refugees were black Jewish slaves. And then this is then tied to Deuteronomy 28 as prophecy. Now, if you are a part of ISUPK, IUIC, or any camp that's from the One West group, and even most African Americans, they take Rudolph Windsor's quote and say, hey, what? Yeah, man, I agree with him. That's the source. But let's go to what Philo actually said. Philo describes the existing Jewish population in Egypt and Libya. Because remember, Philo is when? Philo is in before the war. So Philo couldn't be talking about after the war. Let me see who in the audience disagrees. If Philo is writing before 50 CE, he's writing before the war. So it couldn't be after the war. So what Rudolph Windsor is doing is being dishonest. He can't be honest. He's being dishonest. This is before the people went into before the war. So these are the people who inhabited Alexandria and the rest of the country from Katabathamos on the side of Libya to the boundaries of Ethiopia were not less than 1 million of men. So we have the primary. If people want to see the primary, I could bring the primary on the screen if you want me to put it on the screen. It's Philo against Flaccus. So Philo is talking about Jews already living in Egypt and Libya in his time, not a later flight after 70 CE. His geography is Egypt and Cyrenaica up to Ethiopia, i.e. the Eastern and Central North African Mediterranean belt. Not West Africa, not the Atlantic coast, not the Niger Gold Coast region. Nothing in Philo says they fled from Jerusalem. They were sold in large numbers in markets. They are the ancestors of West and Central African populations in the Atlantic slave trade. Windsor borrows Philo's about 1 million Jews in Egypt and Libya, but he reframes it as over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. My brothers who are Hebrew Israelites, my brother, and I hope Zion brings this out soon because he likes to bring out new information. This is hot off the press, brother. You like to clip Garfield, clip this part. Rudolph Windsor was either lying or, let me use a cleaner word, he was being deceptive. Because that's clearly not what Philo says. But I think you guys who are researchers know this and hide it. You just can't research. Now, the other source that he used, what Godby actually does in The Lost Tribes of Myth, he brings in Alan Howard Godby, The Lost Tribes of Myth, Suggestions Towards Rewriting Hebrew History, which was written around 1930. In his notes, he explicitly cites Godby on pages 181 to 183, 185, and later on in 252. What does Godby actually talk about? Godby uses Philo's passage about 1 million Jews between Katabathmos and Ethiopia, exactly as Philo meant it, to show the large Jewish population in Egypt and Cyrenaica in the 1st century. Godby also cites Jerome as saying that Jews were spread from the western extremity of Mauritania to India. That is from the Atlantic side of North Africa across the Near East to India. So Godby is doing two things, documenting that Jews were present all around the Mediterranean and Near Eastern world, including North Africa. Mapping the diaspora, Egypt, Libya, Mauritania, etc. in the East, not West Central Africa as the ethnic base of enslaved Africans. Nowhere in what we can see of Godby's text does he say over 1 million Jews fled into Africa between Pompey and Julius. Slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. These North African Jews became the Negro populations of West and Central Africa who were later enslaved in the Americas. He's talking about Jewish settlements and communities around the Mediterranean world, often urban, often mercantile or scholarly standard Jewish diaspora history. Undocumented mass flight of Judean refugees into the deep interior of West and Central Africa. So his claim is based on rereading Godby's Lost Tribes of Myth, which describe dispersion around the Mediterranean, not proven mass migration into West and Central Africa as the source of all enslaved slaves. The proof is Windsor explicitly footnotes Godby as his authority for the spread of Jews across North Africa. Godby, in turn, is just summarizing Philo, Jerome, etc. about Mediterranean North African diaspora, not Atlantic West Africa or the transatlantic slave trade. The extra steps, over 1 million fled into Africa. That's one of the selling points of Hebrew Israelism. One of the selling points, and he's misquoting sources. There's a history of that in the Hebrew Israelite community. Who is going to be brave enough to come out and say, hey, this is wrong? Somebody say, yes, please show that Philo source. I got you, my brother. I didn't see that you said that earlier. Let me show it. Philo at Flaccus. All right, let me find exactly where it is. And it's a damn shame. It took Garfield to find this, the one that you guys say hate and can't research and can't do this and can't do that. It took me to actually point this out. That shit is crazy. Hold on 1 second. Let me find the exact number. Hold on a second. $6.43. Hold on there. Hold on there, my brother. All right, I got it right here. I'm going to put it on the screen right now for you, my brother. I'm going to do that just for you because you asked. And you know what? I have to stop the show and show him because Hebrew Israelites don't trust Garfield. They think I'm making this up. Make it big on the screen so everybody could see it. Scroll down to 43. And I'm going to put it in the chat for you so you could read it so you don't think Garfield is showing something photoshopped. This is for all the Hebrews that hate Garfield. Y'all been using this for years, for over 50 years. Y'all been misusing. See, chapter 6, Flaccus 43. What then did the governor of the country do? Hold on, let me see if it's on the screen loud and clear. Is that clear enough for you, sir? Atlantis, African. Is that clear enough for you? Let me get a thumbs up in the chat. All right, so let's go. So now it's Philo against Flaccus. What then did the governor of the country do? Knowing that the city had two classes of inhabitants, our own country and the people of the country, and that the whole of Egypt was inhabited in the same manner, and that Jews who inhabited Alexandria and the rest of the country from the Catabathmos on the side of Libya to the boundaries of Ethiopia were not less than 1 million of men. And that the attempts which were being made were directed against the whole nation, and that it was a most mischievous thing to distress the ancient hereditary customs of the land. There you go, brother. I'm going to put this in the chat. Put this in the chat so you could have this and you could say, Garfield just taught me something. There you go. That's where he got the million from. There you go. All right, let's get back to business. I want to keep this map on the screen because I want people to think in the time period of that time. You're welcome, beloved, of what's going on. Let's take a look now. Hold on, let me get back to where I was. All right. All right, so we got through that. We also got through Godby, right? We talked about Godby. All right. Nowhere in that. All right. All right, cool. So we got that out the way. All right. All right. So we already took care of Philo and the 1 million Jews fled into Africa. So that is not true. We know that statement by Windsor is not true. I'm going to ask everybody in the audience right now. So Philo's millions lived in Egypt and Libya before 38 CE. That's when Philo wrote against Flaccus, 38 CE. All right. Now, before we get to that part, I want to ask everybody who's watching, how many people, hold on a second here. Let me see if I could find this. Let me see. me find this right here, because this is important. How many people left as refugees out of Judea? Because we have Josephus saying in Jewish War 6.9.3 that 1.1 million died. 1.1 million died. Ladies and gentlemen, 97,000 were carried into the nations. Luke 21:24. Let me say that again. What was the point? The point was there was no history, there's no records of 1 million Jews fleeing into Africa. That is not true. There's no record that says that. He took somebody else's source, remixed it, and put it in his book. Hugh, someone is lying is the point. Exactly. Thank you, Sir Goals. So we could throw out that part of Rudolph Windsor's book. Yes, Atlantis African, yes. You definitely on your way to be a part of Dagger Squad, Atlantis African. Now again, look at the map on the screen. If Jews were going into Africa, what's the best route for them to go? We can't say the Elephantine Jews because those Jews are already amalgamated into the culture and they're already back up north because the Jews, of course, they move around and they're doing their thing. They probably went to Yemen. But the Romans control that area right now, Elephantine area. They control it. I'm trying to figure out if I'm a Jew in Judea in the first century and I'm running through Syria. I'm going to Mesopotamia. I'm going through all of it. Sir Gold, Garfield is lying, Hugh Dixon. Oh man, he ain't talking about me, bro. He ain't talking about me. So Josephus tells us the death toll is 1.1 million Jews that died. That's documented in Jewish War 6.9.3. Total captives enslaved, 6.9.3, 97,000. Survivors dispersed or relocated. Yes, we have information where Josephus tells us refugees were running all over. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Sicarii, right? That guerrilla Hebrew named this group after. That group, you know where they went? They went to Egypt, over 600 of them. But they were turned back and caught by the Romans because the Jews turned them in. The Jews snitched on them. They said, we don't want these guys here because we don't want to be associated with the rebellion people and people come and destroy us. So now, some Jews fled, some hid, some surrendered, some remained in the villages. Many towns surrendered before destruction. Jewish War 4.9. People fled from Jerusalem before the final siege. Jewish War chapters 6 to 7. Now, where did these people go? That's the argument I want to talk about before we go any further. Where did the refugees go? Some refugees left from Galilee to Jerusalem. This is in Jewish War 3.9.7. Those that escaped fled to Jerusalem. Galilean Jews, they left from one part of the area to another part. Fled to Jerusalem from Galilee and Golan. Examples include Jatapata, Taratea, and Gamala. All right, so what do we have? Yeah, Rudolph Windsor is lying. Yes, he's definitely lying. All right, so right now, we're talking about what happened to the refugees. We have internal movements from upstate to them. Some fled to Idumea, Jewish War 4.9. They fled south of Judah and went to Idumea. What's your problem? You're breathing so hard. What's your problem? Some Jews crossed the Jordan. They ended up in Perea. Jewish War 4.7. Some fled to Syria. Some refugees went to Arabia and Nabatea. So after the Jewish War, we actually know where they actually went because Josephus told us. They said some left from Galilee, upper Israel to Jerusalem. Some left northern towns to Jerusalem. Some left the Judean countryside to Jerusalem. Some left from the Jerusalem to the desert and villages. Some left from Judea to Idumea, to Perea, to Syria, to Arabia. Some went to the caves and the desert. Now, what's important is there's one area we don't hear them going into. What's that area, Breezing? What's that area? What's the area I haven't read so far? I've read every area in the world I've read that they went, except one area, Africa. You notice you don't hear Josephus saying they're going into Africa. Because remember, Rudolph Windsor is teaching us that they fled 1 million went into Africa, but they already lived, some of them already lived in Africa. They already had Jewish communities before the war in Cyrenaica, in Egypt, in Mauritania. Well, I'm not too sure about Mauritania where Morocco is, but we have them in Cyrenaica in Egypt. But how is it they fled into West Africa when Josephus is pointing out where they went in, which makes sense? Look at the map on the screen. I don't have to tell you this. You just use common sense. If you are in Judah and you're fleeing from a war, where are you going? Some of them went to Idumea, which is Edom, right? Some of them went to Syria, which is north. Some of them went to Mesopotamia, which again is going through Syria and going up north. Because north of Syria is actually Mesopotamia. So that makes sense because the Romans control these areas, but they're running to areas where Romans are not. So Syria, Romans are there, but to north of Syria, guess what? They're not in Idumea either. Where they located at? Where they at? So one place I noticed, and I'm waiting for somebody to give me a source. When did the Jews run as refugees into Africa? Where's that source at? The source that they run to is Babylon to Timbuktu. But Babylon to Timbuktu, I just proved it by showing the primary of Philo. They never went. There was no 1 million Jews for one to run into West Africa. It was 1.1 million died. That 1 million he got from another source that wrote 40 years or 30 years before the war. I tell you. I tell you, bro.
Are you done now?
Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, because when you had said that, I had did the AI thing about that, and it did say Philo said it was 1 million Jews in there, with the highest concentration being in Alexandria, which we know like was a big slaughter in Alexandria of nothing but Jews at that time, and like even in Isaiah, no, can I finish? And even in Isaiah, when it tells them not to even run down into Egypt and trusting in Egypt, which they had been doing anyway. So like when you said in the source and Rudolph is lying, I think you kind of like soiling a man's name and like kind of like misappropriating his name because it does say that.
Let me
And
ask you a
even in
question.
Josephus, it say that. But
let me ask you a question. What did Rudolph Windsor say? Let's go step by step. And I'm gonna show you guys.
What you just said. You said he said it was. Yeah. You put it out there.
No. So how am I putting something bad?
To be real, man, I ain't read that book in so long. I ain't read that book in. I ain't read that book in so long, man. That's kind of like one of the books you read. Listen, that's like one of the books you read when you first start learning. Go ahead.
Let me read the book. It says, let me read the quote. It says, during the period from Pompey to Julius, it had been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. Now, let me ask you a question now. This guy is saying he's remixing what Philo said. They inhabited Alexandria and the rest of the country from Catamus on the side of Libya to the boundaries of Ethiopia were not less than 1 million. So where are they running from Pompey to Julius? Where's that coming from? He made that up, bro. Nothing in Philo says they fled from Jerusalem.
I don't believe he did. They were fleeing from
No, all right. Give me the source that says
but that's
that.
just that's Philo's account. Like, so that's what I'm saying.
See,
You
now you're
can't
doing the
broad brush
shuffle.
one
Now you're doing
story
the
and be
so
like, well,
no,
that story fits everything.
no,
Like,
you got me.
no, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's not the Hebrew shuffle. That's that Brooklyn magic that you be on. Yeah, and you came with Jamaica. You came with Jamaica and got that Brooklyn magic down good. You're a scholar. You're a scholar in that Brooklyn magic, boy. I'm telling you, you came with Jamaica. You're impressive.
Time out.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Go ahead.
How you kill yourself is he put Philo as the source of that information. So if Philo is the source, he's not saying what Philo is saying. You see, that's how you kill yourself. I know you want to take up for Rudolph Windsor because this is what Hebrew Israelites use. But my brother, no, you have to correct information when it's wrong. No, you're my Bible believer. We're supposed to be honest, right? If you write a book, Breezy, and I say, Garfield said on March 1st that Jamaicans are the only Israelites. Now, if I said that in my book, then you're correct. But if I said that Jamaicans can't be Israelites, and you said that Garfield said they are Israelites, you are misquoting what I wrote. You're making up your own thing. That's what he did, bro. Come on, man. I got to get you on board with this one. If you don't support me with this, I don't know what I got to do with you, man. Bro,
No. Because listen. Well, I know we can I say something first? Go Spurs. But I didn't mean to say that. What I'm saying is, Philo did say it was 1 million Jews, and like you said, if the Israelites are running, where you think they're gonna run to? They're gonna run to where the higher population of Israelites at? In Alexandria, in Egypt. That's where they ran. That's why, like when the Messiah was fleeing, what did he run to? He ran to Egypt. We have been running down there.
All right,
that's what I'm saying. The point of the matter is, it was already civilizations, already communities down there.
Okay, let me ask
you. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So the man, maybe he misappropriated the number, but he was right in saying what he was saying.
What was he right about? All right, let me ask you this: is there a source that says
they're fleeing down there? That's where they was fleeing to.
Can you even
Josephus, even Josephus said the Marcus, even Josephus. Man, listen, I gave you the Bible. It's in the Bible. He told them not to flee to Egypt. They had been doing it. But see, you don't rock with the Bible, so I can't convince you of that. That's your right to believe that. I ain't trying to convince you.
Can I ask you a question? Do you have a source that says they fled into Africa?
Spit it out, brother. Spit it out.
I'm asking you. Do you have a source that said they fled into Africa?
I just told you it's in the Bible.
Where in the Bible?
No, it isn't.
No, Sabian, hold on. Where does it say that?
Man, you sound like Jesse Lee Peterson now. I just told you. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there goes Sabio. Oh, my goodness.
Where does it say it? Hold on, Sabio.
Man, listen, I don't even want no smoke with him, man, because dude, man, disrespectful. I don't even want to engage with him.
Sabio's not engaged. I'm asking you.
I don't even want to engage with that dude.
Do you have a source that says after the 70 AD war?
Because he don't have no decorum. He don't have no decorum, man. I don't like talking to men like that.
Are you hearing me, bro? Am I talking Spanish? Do you have a source that says they fled?
It's in the Bible.
Where's it in the Bible? Where's it in the Bible? Where?
Yeah, it's in the Bible.
Where in the Bible?
Like, even Josephus said they fled in the Northeast Africa. But Josephus said they fled in Northeast Africa.
Where does he say that?
Fled in the North Africa.
Where does he say that?
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, this stuff is documented. Like, these people.
This is why I'm doing this.
It's in Josephus, bro. Like, you know Josephus, the one you just quoted.
Reason. This is why
they fled. You just said that. You just said that. You just said that. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
The reason why I'm doing the show is because there's a lot of misinformation regarding 70 AD war and furthermore, right?
I'm not talking, bro. I'm listening.
Watch this. Don't say a word. Now, Josephus does refer to the Sicarii But he doesn't say anybody went into Egypt, because look at the logics of it. If you are in Judea, where are you running to? You want to run to other communities. So now Sicarii did go to Egypt after the 70 AD war. And the Jews there rejected them in Alexandria. I said, nah, they told the Romans, nah, the Romans came and got them. They're the only people that's recorded that ran into Africa. They have documentation of them going everywhere else. They went to Arabia, which makes a lot of sense because the Romans didn't control.
Bro, you think they're gonna be the only one? No, listen.
Time out.
Okay.
Let me finish. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm saying to you, they carried 97,000 captives throughout the Roman Empire. I'm not talking about captives. I'm talking about refugees. Talking about people that run away. So those people that ran during the war, where did they go? We have documentation of where they went. Some of them went to Edom. Some of them went to the Sinai routes. Some of them went to Arabia. We have that documented in Josephus. That's what I'm saying. Josephus doesn't document them going anywhere in Northern Africa outside of the Sicarii people. That's what I'm saying. So even if what's his name saying that they fled into Africa during whatever, he's not talking about the 70 AD war. He's talking in general before, which they already had Jewish communities in Northern Africa before that, before what even he's talking about, before Pompey, they were living in Northern Africa. So my point to you is, you can't show me no source from Josephus saying that they ran into Africa, because that's the prerequisite to say they went into West Africa. That's your argument. So this is why I'm doing the show. Show me when they ran into North Africa. That's all I'm saying. Look at the map on the screen.
I just looked at the AI overview.
Mm-hmm. And what the AI overview says.
I just
post it in the chat. Post it in the chat. I'll share your screen.
Hey, you got a computer? Pull it up and ask. Hey, no, just do that right now on AI overview. Ask Josephus. Hey, do it on do. I don't know how to do all that. Hey, ask AI overview on Josephus. Did they run into North Africa?
Okay,
I'm just saying. It's gonna be like, yeah. I just looked it up as you were saying that.
What did you say? Josephus said what?
I just typed this, simple as that.
What did you type? Tell me what you typed. Did Josephus?
Hey, ask Josephus, did they run into North Africa? Listen,
document.
I just said it, man. Why do y'all ask the same question over and over again?
Because you're talking while I'm talking, my brother. That's why I can't hear you. There you go again. Did Josephus document Jews running into North Africa?
You asked me a question. You asked me a question. I answered it.
You're too touchy today, man. You're not yourself today.
That's why I don't like coming on here. I just be cool from the chat. And I'm always cool, man. Just sometimes y'all just mad disrespectful. Y'all don't understand that.
So, what up, Garfield? So, according to Josephus, if Josephus is writing,
no. Hold on, Sebio. What did the respondent says? What was the evidence? Look at what it says. I'm going to show you guys on the screen what it says. And I think this is the confusion. Again, this is why I'm doing the show. I'm not asking anybody.
Hello? Did y'all just follow?
Hold on a second, my brother. Hold on. I want y'all to look at this. Did Josephus document Jews running into North Africa? While some modern interpretations of Flavius Josephus.
Hey, can I say one thing?
Yo, bro, you got to come out and come back in, bro. You got to go out and come back in. You're not hearing me. While the claim certainly online source in Afrocentric theory suggests Josephus wrote millions of Jews.
Yeah, I think that is my phone messing up.
The reality of the text is Josephus does record that after the fall of Jerusalem, thousands of Jewish captives were sent to Egypt. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. But ladies and gentlemen, there is no record of him saying that refugees ran into North Africa. He has refugees going from Galilee to Judah to Syria, Judah to Mesopotamia, to the Sinai region, to Edom, to other areas. There's nothing that he writes that says refugees went into North Africa. It don't exist. I have not, you know what? I won't say it don't exist. I have not found one record yet. This is my point. So we could say captives, they took captives, yeah, 97,000, and they did whatever. But as far as when they went into what you call it, nope.
I just read the AI review it did.
Read the AI review. Read the AI review. Read it. Read the AI review. Go ahead and read it. Read the AI review, my brother. There you go. Islamic records say, yes, I agree. They went to Arabia. They went to, nobody's saying that they didn't go to Arabia. I said they went to Arabia. Nobody, I don't have no qualms with that. But saying that they went into North Africa and then from North Africa, further saying they think that 1 million went into West Africa, 1 million went into Africa. I don't get it. I don't get it. What are you saying, Sabio? You up, Sabio?
No, I was just saying, I was just going to say, where did Josephus get his quote from about 1 million Jews fleeing to West Africa?
No, he never said that. Josephus never said that.
Oh, okay. He said,
Josephus said 1.1 million died. That's what he said.
1 million died.
1.1 million died. That's what he said.
Where?
In Judea.
That's the whole population, isn't it?
Not well. Technically, what happened is it was during Passover, so everybody came down at the time. I don't think it was really that number. I won't even focus on the number, but I'm gonna make a point to them, even with that number. So watch what's gonna happen now. Watch what's gonna happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm waiting for somebody to bring a source that a bunch of Jews, refugees, ran into North Africa. Now, look at the map. This is my point.
Come on, girl.
If you are running from somebody, why are you? You see, they went to Edom. They went to Arabia. That makes sense. So, my brother with the lion right here, you was what you call it? I support what you're saying as far as the Arabian records right here. I don't have no problem with that because they went to Arabia. That makes sense. That makes absolutely sense right here. Look where Arabia is, right here. Why wouldn't I go into Arabia? Arabia makes sense. The Romans didn't control it. That's why they're going there. That's one of the areas that they went. So we know they went to Idumea, which is Edom, Arabia, the Transjordan area, the Syrian area, the desert. We know the captives were taken to the Egyptian mines, the Rome, provinces, arenas, labor sites. So I don't see why you have all these different people here in different areas. Look at what I asked AI. Did Jewish refugees or captives end up in Libya, Tunisia, which is Carthage, Cyrenaica, Morocco, or Djerba?
What? I just took you out. You didn't use it when I took you.
Your mic on, bro. So now, when we look, we see Libya have Jews already. And what happened is the Jews that were taken there, if you look in Jewish wars, Josephus wars, Jewish wars, 6.8.2, the soldiers sold a multitude of captives. So the captives are taken there, but they don't have no records of refugees. It makes no sense. Why are you going into North Africa? For what reason? You're running back into the Romans. Oh, they want to go to a community. Well, I don't know. There is no evidence that refugees or captives from the 70 CE war reached Morocco, and the Jewish tradition of Djerba traces to later legendary origins. I want somebody to bring a primary source of refugees going into North Africa. I'm not saying it's not true, but that's the basis of the 70 AD argument. When they use Luke 21:24, which they misuse it, if the Jews are fleeing to areas, Perea, Transjordan, the desert caves, Edom, Syria, these are the places that they ended up. And it's documented. So why he ain't document that they went into North Africa? They only went there as slaves. Very interesting. Very interesting. You.
Yo, Garfield, I just want to ask you one question.
Who is this? Identify yourself.
This is the lame Hotep. I just have one question before I go. Do you believe that the Ashkenazim, do you believe that those are the bona fide Israelites of the Bible?
No. I don't think anybody can be the bona fide people of the Bible. That's a belief. I think Ashkenazi, though, has a better argument as far as tracing back to Jews more than Black Americans or Jamaicans or Haitians or Brazilians, because half of them are connected. Because remember, I think people overrate the Ashkenazi Jews. Y'all overrate them. What happened is when a Black person has sex with a white woman, like Drake's father, you accept Drake, right? That's the same thing with Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi men moved to Europe and slept with a European woman. And when they slept with the woman, those children slept with other people who were Europeans at the time, who they call white. So that's how they got lighter and lighter over time. But these, if you look at the genetics of them, they are closer to the Mizrahi Jews than we are. They are closer to the Maghrebi Jews more than we are. It's just facts. Are they the Israelites? No, I wouldn't say that.
DNA is not facts. But anyways,
DNA. Stop.
What up?
DNA
what did you just
is
say?
fact. Hold on, Sabiel. DNA is fact, because when you're having a child and you test it, you trust it. Now, population genetics is real. If you look at the map of the screen right now, Northern Africans who stem from people who were Jews, who were there from the 1st century, what would we call them today? Some of them are light like Ashkenazi. They're in North Africa. They carry E1B1B. They carry, even in the Levant, they carry E1B1B. They carry J1, J2. They don't find no E1B1A in West Africa, in Israel. They don't find it because E1B1A is over here. We're in Western Central Africa. That's where we are in South Africa.
Garfield.
That's why the Lemba, hold on one second. That's why the Lemba, why are they considered Jewish? Because of their J marker, not their E1B1A. And y'all support it because y'all said the Lemba is Jews. It's crazy. So genetics don't count. But go ahead, my brother. What's the next question?
Is genetics a concrete science?
In what sense?
I asked a direct question. Is it a concrete science?
Of course it's a concrete science. Why wouldn't it?
Okay, no, they all disagree with you. That's a lie. I can't believe you just said that.
Who disagrees with me? No, we're not going to move. You're not going to go on fireball me. You're not going to move because you want to claim an identity and be an identity thief. Now,
I didn't claim any identity. I didn't claim any identity.
Anybody that asks about Ashkenazi Jews is a wannabe Israelite. Only wannabe Israelites ask that.
That's not true.
Because
no, the Muslims ask it all the time. The Syrian president, he asked the same question. Who are these Khazarians that converted? So we're all asking the question because right now the world is at stake over this. We're gonna go to World War III over people claiming to be to have the birthright of Jacob. That's why the whole world's going to go to war. So, and you should have seen that. You should have seen that with the interview.
That's a good point. That's a good point. The point is not the point that you should make is not because of people claiming it. Because what I'm going to show right now on the screen, I'm going to show that people actually remain in the land for the last 2,000 years. So if you sit back and relax, you'll see I present the evidence that there's Jews who have lived in the land the whole time period. And that and that people that even come back from 1948, I think what happened is we want the Jews to look just like us. And the fact is they could be dark skinned, they could be light skinned, they could be any skin tone. That the skin tone don't determine your ethnicity, bro.
Nobody's talking skin tone. No one said anything about skin tone.
Let me no, because once you say Khazars and Ashkenazi, hell yeah.
Nobody. Okay, is that a skin color?
You no, but Ashkenazi,
Okay, then there we go.
let me finish my point before interrupting, brother. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't come on the show and act like it's your show. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that Jews from Babylon, Babylonian Jews, do you think those people are real Jews?
There's no way of verifying.
Okay. All right. So who is a true Jew in your opinion? How would you recognize a Jew?
Well, I mean, are we talking about Jews or are we talking about Israelites? Because there's a distinction.
There's nobody calling themselves no Israelites except African Americans and Jamaicans and Brazilians. Nobody is calling themselves running around saying they're Israelites.
Oh, and British Israelism, they don't call themselves Israelites.
Because they're in the West. These people in the West claim the foolishness. That's what African Americans.
But I mean, I'm trying to deal with. I'm dealing with scholarly facts. Is it scholar? Is it a scholar? Is it a fact? Garfield, hear the answer. All right. No, I know you're nervous.
Calm down, Garfield. Calm down, brother.
Nah, let me give him a timeout. Garfield is not nervous. I'm just eager. I want to hear what garbage you're coming with so I could beat the hell out of it. All right? Breezing, I don't need for you to interrupt. Go ahead, lame Hotep, because you're not even a Hotep. You're front. You're front.
All right, so basically, I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but no, yeah, I remember. So basically, according to historical fact, is there a distinction between an Israelite and a Jew?
No. That's a theological argument.
No, we can talk about. We can show reliefs. We can show reliefs in archaeology where Israel is mentioned.
Hold on a second. Now, would you consider Judeans Israelites?
No.
Okay. All right. So that's the problem.
Can I explain now? Can I explain?
No, you cannot. Because you're going against history and the Bible.
Chill. Let him explain. Go ahead.
All right. So again, not all Israelites are Jews. A Jew can be somebody who's a Judean. So if let's just say you're an Ishmaelite, you're an Arabian, and your family moves to Judea, and you're born in Judea, and that's all you know, technically you're a Judean. The Edomites that converted into Judaism, they were called Judeans. That's what they were called. Herod was called a Judean. So being a Judean doesn't have anything to do with bloodline. It has everything to do with your region of where you live. Now, and then on top of that, a Jew can be anybody who follows the religion of Judaism, right? But not everybody is an Israelite. In order to be an Israelite, that has nothing to do with conversion. It has nothing to do with where you were born. You could be born in Turkey. You could be born in China. Doesn't matter. An Israelite is determined based off of the bloodline of your fathers, and if they go back to Jacob. That is the definition of an Israelite.
You know what, Lame? I'll say this without you interrupting, that you are correct. I have no qualms with what you're saying. But when I said the Judeans, I was referring to people like during the 586 BC, during that time period. Those people would be considered Israelites because they're Judeans at that point. So don't interrupt me. Don't do that. That's who I was referring to. But what you said about Judeans from the first century in Idumea, you are correct. Somebody could be a Judean nationally and not be a bloodline. Now, the issue of the bloodline, I didn't even want to go there because I'm talking about 70 AD. But the issue of the bloodline is based off of Jacob. And Jacob is not considered, or Abraham considered to be a historical individual. He's not historically he's not historically recoverable. So we can't, you see, the bloodline argument, it sounds cute, but the issue is you can't prove the 12 tribes was real and the 12 brothers was real. You can't, and I don't want to go down that line because I really want to finish the 70 AD because this is important to me. So if I may, let's say that Israelite bloodline cannot be recovered because Jacob is not a recoverable person in history. He's a character in a book. So I'm
glad that you admit that. So then by you admitting that, you would have to say that those people who are calling themselves Jews, they're not even Israelites.
The people who are calling themselves Jews have a tradition that you could trace back years, over 2,000.
But you just said that Israelite, that's not even a real thing because he's a made up person.
I'm not saying it's not a real thing, but Jacob, as far as the bloodline of Jacob and saying you trace back to tribal, that's just something in a book.
Right. So those people, because they're claiming something that's not real, correct?
No, I wouldn't say they're claiming something that's not real.
See, look at you tap dancing.
That's from a bro. The ad hominem is not scholarship. I'm gonna say it one time. I'm gonna say to you is Jews can trace their history back to a tradition. African Americans and people in the West can't. They could trace back to the Torah as far as 2,200 years ago, probably even 2,400 years ago. The issue is these people are connected to the region. They have DNA, they have genetics that could point them back. African Americans, Jamaicans, Brazilians, Afro-Brazilians, we have genetics that could point us to West and Central Africa. We have sickle cell trait. Don't do it. We have sickle cell trait. We have the Duffinol genotype. The Duffinol genotype is basically the protein in our red blood cell is dormant. That variant cannot be mixed. That's something that our ancestors passed on to us. We could play the game all we want. We don't even need a sickle cell trait. All you need is the Duffinol gene. Why is it that black people in the Americas have a high T blood cells and people try to treat us with antibiotics when we're not sick? Because we have a red blood cell when the protein in it is dormant. That's a problem. That's a problem. You don't, and nobody else, white people don't have it, Jews don't have it. We have it because that's where we stem from, West and Central Africa. We have genetic markers of women in Cameroon that has the L2 marker. The L2 marker being in West and Central Africa over 8,000 years ago. We, African Americans, males and females, majority of us have the L2 marker. How is it that we have a marker that goes back to that place, that area? This population.
I'm L3.
You can't get around it. So if you want to play the game, they're not real because of that. Israel is a real place. It has a history. I'm just saying, theologically speaking, the tradition of 12 tribes cannot be proven. Jacob cannot be proven.
So all right. So then
Hey, Breezy, you have something to say? Ain't nobody interrupting you on my show, man. I'm not doing that. But go ahead, Breezy.
I didn't say anything.
You were saying something earlier?
I didn't say anything. I'm just sitting there quiet.
Back to 70 AD.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
No, I was just sitting there quiet. But hey, can I say this though?
Okay, so Garfield, are you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the Israelites are not a real people. It's fiction. It's in a book. It's not real. Correct?
Never said that. I said
okay.
The blood. Let me mute up because you're gonna interrupt me. Mute up, and when I'm finished, you could unmute. I am saying ancient Israel is a real place. The narrative that they added or made up is not real. The bloodline narrative is not real. The 12 tribes is not real. What Judah did, because what the Bible is being written from, is being written from a Judean perspective. This is why Judah has a scepter, and most cultures outside of West Africans, everybody wants to be Judah. Everybody wants to be Judah. That's what it's about. So the issue is, if you're going to talk about the people in the land are fake, I would disagree with you based on the Babylonian Jews, because the Babylonian Jews, those people who were encouraged by Nebuchadnezzar, we have the Judeans in their own writing in this particular book right here. Let me put it on the screen right here. Hold on, let me show it real quick. This book has the primary sources. Let me take this off the screen. Let me put it on the screen. This book right here is the Judeans, over 200 texts that they have of them writing, of them being in Mesopotamia. And in those 200 texts, what we find, ladies and gentlemen, is that Nebuchadnezzar encouraged them to move to there. They gave them positions like a congressman or a senator, and they had over 13 communities. By the time you got to Darius II in the Persian period, those 13 communities became 30 communities. So this is why the Jews moved from Israel after the 2nd century. They moved from Israel to Babylon as the main home of Judaism. So what happened is those Jews continued to live in Babylon over 2,500 years. So what you're talking about, I don't know. So what would I call those people who descend from those people? And they had their own language. They kept the language. It's called it Judeo-Arabic, which is a continuation with Hebrew. Biblical Hebrew is repeated through the language. How is it the people, they didn't lose
you
their
can call them, you can call them a Jew. You can call them a Jew, Garfield. I don't have an issue with you.
You can't tell me what I should call anybody. Why are you interrupting me to tell me foolishness? You're gonna tell me?
No, I'm not. I'm just because you're not proving a point. You're not.
I'm not calling them Israelites per se, but they are Judeans who were Jews who were part of that culture and lived in that region. You see, what happened is I didn't want to go there because now we have to talk about the formation of the Torah and the Bible, which we don't have any evidence until probably like 4th or 3rd century BC. I don't want to go there. So the writing is different than the actual people. They were Israelites who were taken to Mesopotamia. They were Sennacherib who came in 700 BC or 701 BC, took Judeans who were considered Israelites at the time to the same places in Mesopotamia and other areas like Nineveh. Those are the people, my brother, who descend, who carry on the tradition and kept it. Although they were not in the land, they kept the tradition of being Jews. So those Jews are legitimate. It's not an issue of if the people in the land, you are not in the position to determine who is in the land, who is real or not, unless you're on the ground evaluating each person and what their history is. For us to make a blanket statement, the people in the land is not the right people, you can't make that statement because the Persian Jews were legitimate. Benjamin Tudela went to the area and those people are claiming, oh, we come from when the Assyrian exile. We have the people in Babylon claiming the same thing. We have the people over 2,500 years. They have the genetics, they have the culture, they have the religion. They are doing their thing. You are not in the position to tell who is what. What I do know, though, is that African Americans who are mainly from West and Central Africa are not tied to these people at all. We've been bamboozled enough, like what Malcolm X said. We don't need to be bamboozled anymore. And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
So I want to agree with you. I want to extend an olive branch and I want to say, great. They're Judeans. They're Jews. They have a culture. They have a tradition. They make claims. That's literally what you said. They have a tradition. They make claims. That's pretty much it. And we know that the Edomites converted into Judaism too. They became synonymous one with the Jewish nation. So if that is the case, could it be that you have Edomites that took the traditions, had the customs, had the language, and took that with them into Europe? Is that a possibility?
First and foremost, for me to agree to that conversation, I got to agree with the whole Edomite conversation. No, I don't agree with nothing to do with no Edomite. Edomite, again, you're using a theological perspective to talk about history. The fact of the matter is, Idumea was converted to Judaism. They fought alongside Jews. They weren't even recognizable. They couldn't tell the difference between the Jews and the Idumeans. And at the end of the day, after the 1st century, they existed no more Edom. There was no more Edomites because they became Judeans and became Jews. So if they're intermingled, don't do it. If they intermingled with them at that point, there's no more Edom or Idumeans anymore. They no longer exist. They have intermingled and assimilated within the culture of Judean history, period. They're either Christians, Jews, or Muslims at this point.
Right. So you're talking about religion. I'm talking about ethnicity. And this is in Tacitus. This is in Strabo.
Hold on, stop right there. No, stop right there. You said Tacitus. What did Tacitus say? Tell the audience. Tell the audience what Tacitus said.
Tacitus attests to the fact that the Idumeans or the Edomites are a people, are a race.
That's fine.
Okay, so I haven't said anything crazy. Again, you said that the Edomites became one with the Israelites, the Jews, the Israelites, and they became essentially synonymous.
Roman Judea is a mixture of people from Idumea, Moab, and northern Israel and southern Israel.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I agree with you. So let's follow your logic. So these people and the Edomites were converted 125 years before Christ. We see a mass Persian conversion during the time, a mass Persian conversion as well. We also have a conversion of Assyrians or Gentiles being placed in the land when the northern kingdom was taken away, and they were keeping the customs. So we see throughout the epochs of time that there have been many, many conversions. Onkelos, the nephew of Vespasian or Titus, he converted. He converted, right? So the point is that you keep saying that they're Jews, that they're Jews, that they're Jews. They have customs. Like, okay, fine. They have customs. They have a tradition that they follow Torah. Big whoop. That still doesn't mean that they're Israelites. And you're trying to say that Israelites don't exist.
I never said, listen, first of all, the biblical Israelites is a tradition. It don't mean ancient Israelites and biblical Israelites are two different type of people. And we need to be clear. Because if I ask you, when the Torah existed? When can you provide evidence of a Torah?
The evidence, I can only go as far back as Ezra and Nehemiah. You
have evidence in Ezra and Nehemiah that a Torah existed? How do you know Ezra? How do you know Ezra is a real person?
That part.
You know, and like I'm walking with you.
No, how you know Ezra is a real person?
With you.
Answer the question. Let's go. Ezra, how we know Ezra is a real person?
Because of the documents, and because of
what document?
The manuscripts, the history around the scrolls, man, you ain't even gonna let me talk. If you're not gonna let me talk, go ahead and answer. Just go ahead and answer it.
Okay. Now let me ask you a simple question. The reason why I didn't want to go there, because 90% of the stuff in the Bible we can't prove. We can't. We don't know if Jacob existed. We don't know if Abraham existed. We don't know if Isaac existed. We don't know none of that. We have no information to prove that these people are historically recoverable. It's a faith. So you now saying that these people adopt the faith and that they have no right to claim Israel. Well, Judaism today seems to be the new modern day Christianity. It's going all over Africa, convincing those crazy folks that they're Israelites. So why these people can't do it too? Is what's good for the goose is good for the gander. The issue that you have is you don't want the people in Israel to be Israel.
No, that's not. It's not about me. Please remove. I didn't say anything of the matter. I didn't say whether or not.
You notice when I asked you if Ezra existed, you started stuttering, because what you don't realize is you're mixing up two conversations.
The Bible don't want those people to be.
Don't do that. Lame Hotel. What I'm gonna say to you is this, right? We're having a historical conversation, and you're mixing in theology with it. Jews today,
no, I'm not.
The Jews today is not running around saying, "Hey, we're the original Israelites." I've argued with.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
I've argued with folks all day long. What I'm saying to you is
Benjamin Netanyahu, literally the whole Likud party, makes that claim that they are Israelites.
The game's about to start. Listen, let's Lamlam, if you want, you can email me, and we could get it in. I can't even get to finish my show today, man. Let me go watch my game, man. I love y'all, man. Peace and love. I'm out of here. But good conversation.
Damn, man.
Do me a favor, my brother. Do me a favor. If you want to come on the show.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about the small hats. They don't want to talk about the small hats.
You don't want to talk about it.
This nigga a fraud, man.
I gotta go.
This nigga a fraud. The CBO, you are the biggest.